Let's face it, buying a vehicle should be straightforward and stress-free, and that's exactly how Two Rivers Ford has been doing business for decades. This locally owned dealership has a non-commissioned sales team whose only focus is to find you the right vehicle at the right price without the pressure. So you'll actually have a fun car buying experience. Great prices, easy financing, and a non-commissioned sales team. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Good morning. We've got injury reports. That's how we're going to start the show today. We are going to hear from Greg Cosell. Nate Washington's on the show. And one of my favorite things in the world is going to be a part of the show today. Lucas is deeply annoyed about his microphone situation, and it makes me so happy. 615-737-1045 is the number. What are you trying to do? Stop fidgeting around over there. Just sit in front of your microphone and do a sports talk radio show like a normal human being.
It says you're on my side. That's crazy.
Trying to turn my mic on. I got to use a new mic.
Ramon broke the microphone.
No, he didn't.
Well, who broke the microphone?
I don't know.
It wasn't broken when we left here yesterday. And then,
Oh, look, the snitch over here. I don't know what happened to the mic. We don't know.
Didn't he say he broke it?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear anything.
I just assumed. But it inconveniences you in a massive way, which delights me. So we're just going to have to soldier through together. What are you going to do when you can't turn your own microphone off? Are we going to have a hot mic situation?
Get in trouble.
No. Well, no. Now we'll actually have a smoother show because when he starts to talk with his microphone off, his microphone will just be on.
Like the last 5 times that's happened hasn't been you. It literally happened to you yesterday.
It happened to me yesterday, but it happens to you way more.
How long? I mean, I feel like you've been saying that for the last... Robert, on aggregate, who do you think that has happened to more?
Tell the truth.
Starting to talk without turning the mic on.
Well, now my headphones aren't working, so when my mic's on, I can't hear you guys. I would say
what is wrong with this show?
It's a fair shake. You both probably do it about the same amount of times.
50-50.
The really crappy thing is when I cut your microphone on now, it does not cut on. So, I can't even cut your microphone off. It's telling me it's off right now.
Very strange.
Well,
very strange.
We'll just have to hope and wish and pray that Lucas gets canceled today. 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to participate. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch is where you live stream the show in the F&M Bank chat. If you would like to let your commentary be heard there, I guess be read there. Injury report for the Titans, the first of the week. So there are more players than there were last week, understandably so. But there are key players who are on the injury report, which would be detrimental to their opportunity to try and beat the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday in the home opener. By the way, we do have Titans tickets to give away at some point today. I suppose we'll figure out how we'll do that. I hate caller 5, but if that's what we have to do, then maybe we'll do that. Quandre Diggs, Arden Key, J.C. Latham, Kalel Mullings, L'Jarius Sneed, Tavondre Sweat, and Kevin Winston Jr., all on the Titans injury reports. Now, 2 of those players are more important than the rest. J.C. Latham dealing with a hip injury that he's been dealing with since training camp. who in the locker room, Lucas, after the game on Sunday was moving very, very, with great effort.
Yeah, got
Very
knocked out
labored.
of that game. Left the game in the second half. Oli Udoh had to finish it out at right tackle.
So he flat out did not practice yesterday. We'll see if that's a Dan Moore Jr. situation where he misses today and he's able to go through the rest of the week. But I'm sure we'll get, well, no, we won't get updates today because Brian Callahan doesn't speak today. I did not see J.C. Latham in the locker room yesterday. If he is there and available for us after practice, of course, those questions will be asked. The other one is T'Vondre Sweat, who is on the injury report with an ankle. So he had an abdominal injury that kept him out for a chunk of training camp. He then had a tonsillectomy that caused him to miss, better part of a month and a half. Came in and played well against Denver, to his credit. They were going to lean on him heavily, and he came through. T'Vondre Sweat was not one of the issues that the Titans had on their week one trip to Denver in a loss.
No, both he and Jeff were very good in this game.
Yes. But this is a game that is critical to have interior pressure because you have a quarterback that can't move. But if he can sit in the pocket, and if you can't collapse the pocket on him, then he's going to kill you. Matt Stafford is an assassin. He was excellent in this game against the Houston Texans. We broke it down with Cosell. Today you're going to hear a bit from Cosell on where Cam Ward needs to improve game over game. Cosell down on the amount of hyperbole being used about Cam Ward.
A little bit of hyperbole. I mean, it doesn't mean that the reaction can't be overall positive on how prepared he was for the moment.
That's not what Greg's saying, but Greg is essentially saying, and he doesn't say this on the podcast, but it feels like Dan Orlovsky and Chase Daniel are gaslighting people a little bit. It was not an outstanding performance. It was a good debut for a rookie.
They were glowing.
It's too much.
Like glowing.
Like somebody sent me a clip of Kirk Benkert breaking down the screen pass where three receivers are blocking and nobody's turned around looking for the football. And that's a fair thing to point out. That's a mistake. There's also what Greg breaks down in the podcast today, and you'll hear a portion of that, a wide open touchdown to Van Jefferson that Cam Ward just doesn't see. And that was not mentioned in all the quarterback hyperbole, former quarterbacks who were breaking down the rookie quarterback saying he had an outstanding debut. While it is reason for optimism, I think it needs to be analyzed correctly. And that's why we have Cosell, and we'll play that for you at 11 o'clock today.
Who is it?
Somebody from Lancaster, California.
I keep getting texts from like a Manhattan number going, did you get my message? Did you get my message? So I don't know what's going on.
You owe people money? Have the Russians not only hacked your Microsoft account, have they now gotten a hold of your phone number?
They might be coming for me because I got my money back. And they didn't get the laptop that they tried to steal.
Well, it's their money, and they want it back.
So
it's my money.
I'm sure that's their stance. It's also big, the Sweat injury, not just for the ability to provide interior pressure on Matthew Stafford, but to stop the run. Kyron Williams got his big deal in the offseason, and, he averaged 3.7 yards per carry on Sunday. Offense generally was hard to come by for the Rams. But to put Matthew Stafford in as many third and longs as possible would behoove the Titans. And we shouldn't overlook Arden Key being limited with a pectoral injury. Not because Arden Key is some sort of ultimate difference maker in the NFL, but the Titans need everybody that they can keep healthy when it comes to their outside pass rush.
Femi Oladejo was second on the team in pressures. He was unblocked, and he had 2. So that's what the Titans pass rush is probably going to be. Jeff had 7. Jeff had the lone sack of the game. Jeff was, we'll say good, because he got the 2 penalties that were costly. So I can't say great if he's got those 2 things that set them back and directly impacted the game. But Jeff was good. The rest of them leave something to be desired. It's Draymond Jones, who was moving slowly in the locker room yesterday. He doesn't appear to have any kind of brace or any kind of wrap around a lower body thing that he's dealing with, but he's not on the injury report. He seems to be dealing with something. And this is what happens. Football players play hurt all the time. Are you hurt or are you injured? And that's the thing that's basically going to be our guiding principle all year long. They just need bodies, right? Jalen Harrell is not enough to get it done. I mean, none of them are enough to get it done based on the sample size that we have, but they need as many fresh legs, as many different types of bodies, as many different options in the pass rush as humanly possible, because it's important to disrupt any quarterback with your pass rush in any game. But this one can't hurt you with his legs. You have to get home.
I'll be really interested to see how Denard Wilson approaches this game because it felt like he was throwing stuff at the offense, at the Broncos offense, that we didn't see a ton of last year. Just bringing pressure from different angles, right? From the corners, different ways they were lining up front. Be interesting to see how that carries over into week 2. And will James Williams be a part of that at any point after not playing a single defensive snap in Denver?
Cosell was not impressed with Cedric Gray against the Broncos. Eye discipline stuff is, again, you'll hear some of this in the podcast. Well, you won't hear all of it. We're going to play a chunk of the podcast for you today, but you'll have to go and find the episode. Because I think the Kaiser White signing is because of Cedric Gray. They're going to give him as many opportunities as they can without putting themselves in harm's way. But what is you bring up the Rams and the emphasis that they have on the running game. What is a hallmark of a Sean McVay offense? Motion. They are going to try and put these guys in a blender with all the different eye candy, all the different misdirection, all the different things that they'll do pre-snap to try and get people out of position, to try and create those holes in the zone if they're playing a lot of zone, and they played a tremendous amount of zone coverage against the Broncos by percentage. They're going to try and take advantage of those spaces and get guys slightly out of space or out of their position so that they can put Puka Nacua in position to have another 130-yard game.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Well, they were excellent, and he executed, right? They find him opportunities to get open, and they're doing a lot of that with some of the stuff that they're doing pre-snap and also some of the stuff that happens after the snap. McVay's just really good. He was doing it with Cooper Kupp. Now he's got Nacua.
And Devontae Adams.
And Devontae Adams, who is, long in the tooth, but can still find ways to hurt you. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have your participation at any point. Adam Sparks, the Knoxville News Sentinel. Let's talk a little Vols hosting Georgia. Is this Josh Heupel's best chance at Kirby Smart? We'll talk about it next.
Check. Check 1 1 1 2 1 1. Check. He's a mega
Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. We were just complaining, or at least I was complaining yesterday about my age and iShowSpeed being all over the NFL's YouTube broadcast. You've informed me that I need to retract said criticism because iShowSpeed is now in business with our hot chicken sugar mama.
They posted something with him. Hattie B's did.
All right, I'll play nice. Hattie B's, all of their Middle Tennessee locations open at 11 a.m. today. You can download the Hattie B's app and mobile order your Hattie B's if you are so inclined. What, Robert?
Were you about to say they're Middle Earth locations? Like, are Hattie B's in Rivendell? Can you go to Hattie B's at Helm's Deep? Oh, they've never breached the castle of Helm's Deep, and no one's ever had the hottest chicken.
All right, what are these references?
The piece that I feel walking into Hattie B's is what I imagine it feels like to walk into the Shire.
Oh, I could see that.
This is Lord of the Rings.
That music is playing in my head.
Go to.
That is delightful music.
Go to any of the. Oh, there you go. Make me pull it. Go to any of Hattie B's Middle Earth locations.
Did I say Middle Earth?
It sounded like you were about to start.
I definitely tripped over my words. So whatever came out of my mouth.
Go all the way to Shut the Cluck Up. You'll feel like you're in Mordor.
Yeah. I've seen the movies.
No, didn't you like have a long or elongated Lord of the Rings rewatch here recently?
I rewatched the extended cuts of all three. They're like 4.5 hours each.
You know how he rushes out of here every day complaining about how much stuff he has to do, and then he watches 4 hours worth of Lord of the Rings
rewatch movies.
That's a great movie to rewatch. I was such a nerd for Lord of the Rings. Like, I remember being in dodgeball as a freshman in high school and being like, fire! And it's like everybody must have thought I was like such a loser.
Little mini orc in the gym.
Like, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
I don't get any of these references.
You've never seen Lord of the Rings?
No, I mean, I have, but like it's 4 hours. It's just on in the background. I'm not actually paying attention to a 4-hour movie.
You got to buy in, man. You got to suspend your disbelief. You got to realize that Legolas and Gimli aren't supposed to like each other. There is a natural hatred.
Is Orlando Bloom Legolas?
Yes.
Okay, that I know.
It's one of the most beautiful cinematic friendships of all time.
Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. Doesn't get much better. I'm going to watch them tonight. I'm going to watch all of them tonight. I will not be doing primetime.
I'm in the midst of a Mission Impossible rewatch.
You lost.
Now that I actually haven't seen.
I'm halfway through.
I've never seen
I've got 4 down, 4 to go.
How many are there?
There's 8.
Are there really?
The 8th one just
And he
came
does
out.
all of his own stuff. Like that I know about Tom Cruise is that he does his own stunts. That's insane.
That's his whole deal.
Speaking of insane behavior, it would be insanity if Tennessee was able to upset Georgia, hosting Georgia at Neyland Stadium on Saturday. It's the number 5 team in the country coming in to face number 15. And we have our first availability report. Is that what we're officially calling them? In the world of college football, they're not injury reports, they're availability reports.
Yeah, I love how college football like tweaks these things like it's a 2-minute timeout, not a 2-minute warning.
Okay. There has to be a separation of church and state. But a couple of different things that obviously you know coming into the matchup, Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson, their 2 starting corners, will not play. And I misspoke. They're the number 6 Bulldogs, not the number 5 team in the country. And Adam Sparks, the Knoxville News Sentinel, joins us now on 104.5 The Zone to talk about the matchup that will take place. It's going to be rocking at Neyland Stadium. Adam will be on the scene with the rest of his colleagues covering it. KnoxNews.com is where you can go. We've been talking a lot about this game this week, Adam. I'm sure you have too, in keeping up with all the things that are going on around the program. Is this Josh Heupel's best shot at Kirby Smart, or are we being hyperbolic?
No, this is his best shot. I mean, for a few reasons. This is early in the year. We don't know what Georgia has yet. Tennessee's looked pretty good in the first 2 games for what it matters. I do think Josh Heupel has learned. We'll see how it goes, but I think he's learned offensively to some extent that he can't do what he does against everybody else against Georgia. I mean, there's only so many times you can go out with the same offense, same type of approach, and it not win. That you got to change it up. And we saw that a little bit last year. Josh Heupel's offense, spread everybody out, isolate on the outside. That works really well against Mississippi State and Kentucky and whoever else. because you're putting your wide receiver out on an island with a DB, and you're making a defense commit somebody else out there or into the box, and then you have a numbers game. So you're committing a safety out there. That works with almost every other team. It doesn't work with Georgia because Georgia wants your wide receiver against their corner because their corner is better than your wide receiver. And so I think doing that so many times, I think Josh Heupel has figured out. He figured out a little bit last year when they went a lot of too tight and more tight formations, ran the ball through to the tight end a lot. If you remember last year, Miles Kitselman caught like 4 balls, I think, on the first drive. So I think they're going to do that more. And so it may be the best timing at this point that it's a home game. It's early in the season. Georgia doesn't have either of those quarterbacks that they've had in the past. I mean, Carson Beck is gone. We don't know what we're going to get out of Gunnar Stockton. And Gunnar Stockton, I mean, Joey Aguilar, this is his first SEC game. This is Gunnar Stockton's first SEC game. So we don't know how either of them are going to react to pressure. So I'm not saying Tennessee's going to win. I do think, though, that the things that need to align for them to have a chance to finally win this game have probably aligned best this year.
At Adam Sparks is where you follow along. We're talking Vols and Georgia this Saturday with Adam Sparks, the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Well, and to that point, Adam, we have only ever seen Tennessee and Georgia play at the earliest around the midway point in the season in the modern era. Now here we are getting to learn about these teams with the SEC opener. For that reason, does this make it the most intriguing quarterback duel that we've had in quite some time in this series, given that we feel like we're going to learn something about Joey Aguilar and Gunnar Stockton one way or the other?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about either of these teams at a lot of positions. Yeah, we'll learn more about quarterback. I mean, Joey Aguilar could be just, a guy who finds out where his ceiling is and where Tennessee is. If he didn't play great and they lose, he also could be mystical status by, 7 p.m. on Saturday. So, there's a lot on the line of his story could go either way. But, I mean, Georgia and Tennessee both have 4 new starters on the offensive line. We felt good about what we've seen so far, Tennessee's offensive line and somewhat of Georgia's, but, neither of them have played anybody yet. So we'll know more about that. We'll know more about the wide receivers on both sides. The fact that this game is early, I think the big factor that comes to mind there is how does Kirby Smart rev up his guys? Because Kirby Smart, every year for this game, it has been sort of a snake in the grass. I've had at least 1 or 2 games. Last year, he lost to Ole Miss before the Tennessee game. 2 years ago, we were really bad against Missouri. Had a couple bad games the year before that where you said, okay, this may not be the same Georgia team. I think Tennessee can maybe beat this team. And then he would get into the Tennessee game, and he would just – I mean, Kirby is phenomenal on game days. And he would get his guys up, and he would get the best out of them. But that's when he had a history with that team. Right now, he has 2 games history with this team. And so, you just wonder if he can have the same effect on his guys on game day to get the best out of them. Because if Georgia plays like they did against Austin Peay, Tennessee's going to win this game. But that's in the past, they've had a game like that, and then they haven't looked like that team when they played the balls.
David Sanders Jr. listed as questionable. Jackson Moy, Tyree Weathersby, the defensive lineman, listed as questionable. Adam, I'm not going to ask you whether or not these guys are going to play because Josh Heupel famously mum on these things. But what is the impact there of either one of those guys not being available on Saturday?
Well, I mean, David Sanders is a really crazy decision because they've thought for a long time he's one of their best 5 linemen, but he hasn't played a snap. So do you put him out there? Is the risk at tackle or is the risk at guard? If you feel like your best guards are Moy and Perry, do you put Sanders out there so that you can have your best guards there? Or do you risk something having David Sanders' first snap be against Georgia? There's a lot of things going on there. Jackson Moy is at D tackle. I think that's a sneaky, impactful injury because Georgia has a lot of injuries on its offensive line. I think of all the guys that they could have sit out, I think they have 3 offensive linemen that are on the injury list. I've heard there probably should be a fourth on there that I was surprised did not show up. All those guys that made up and get to this game, it's Juan Gaston, the right guard, former 5-star recruit. I think he has the best chance of not playing. And if he doesn't play and Tennessee's Jackson Moy does play, you suddenly have potentially a better matchup there than you would if it goes the other way around and Gaston can play and Moy is out. Because Tennessee has some good depth at defensive line, but not great depth, and they need Moy in this game. There's no doubt about it.
Adam Sparks, Knoxville News Sentinel. KnoxNews.com is where you can read all of the great stuff that Adam and his colleagues are writing about the Vols. Joey Aguilar, what have we learned about him through his first 2 starts as Tennessee's quarterback? He
fits the offense. Now, if he looks like he fits it as well against the Georgia defense, well, we'll see. He's been very controlled, very calm. I mean, all his teammates have said, in game, a guy's cool customers, you'll see. But, I mean, that matches everything. I mean, I've talked to his former teammates and other teams, and I've read about him. And at App State and in junior college, even in high school, I talked to his high school teammates, same thing. It's just Joey's a cool customer, no matter what the situation in the game. So that what we've seen so far matches that. But, again, he's not faced, a defense that's got ample number of NFL early round picks on it and has 2 or 3 5-stars in the secondary. He just has not faced that. So I'm curious to see if what we've seen so far of him holds up. But he's pretty accurate with the football. He will take risks. I mean, he had the reputation as a little bit of a gunslinger, and we saw that in the ETSU game. Josh Apple had a great answer after that game when asked about, what about him just throwing the ball up to Mike Matthews for that touchdown? And Josh Apple was asked, what did you think about that throw? And he said, well, the result was a touchdown. So that's a positive. Obviously showing that, dude, don't throw that ball against Georgia. So there's some risk there. He has not thrown a pick yet, but he could have thrown a couple if they were against better teams.
Yeah, that it's funny, Adam, because that's the highlight that was making the rounds, right? It's Joey Aguilar bombed to Mike Matthews. Might have been his most dangerous throw of the day.
The thing about that throw, though, is Travis Smith was the other receiver, I think, in that area, and I think he didn't adjust his route well. So I think it looked like he was throwing into traffic more so than it did because it was supposed to be Matthews in a corner and then maybe a late safety going up for that ball. But instead it got really crowded because the freshman receiver thought the ball was to him, so drifted over there. So it was still a risky throw. It probably wasn't as risky as we think because of who was on the field.
Yeah, all's well that ends well, I suppose. But yes, we'll see if that isn't repeated this weekend. At Adam Sparks is where you follow him. Knox News is where you read his latest inside the Tennessee football versus Georgia talent gap from Joey Aguilar to 5-star recruits. Adam, is this as close, understanding Georgia still has the upper hand in what they've done, the foundation they've built in recruiting, but is this as close as the talent profiles of these teams have been in this series in the Heupel era?
They've inched closer. So, yeah, they are closer. There's still quite a margin there. I mean, Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama have the 3 most talented rosters, but they're not as talented. Well, I shouldn't say they're not as talented. They're not as deep as they were 3 or 4 years ago. Tennessee has inched its way up a little bit and closed that gap somewhat. In that piece that I wrote, we didn't just look at the total blue chip ratio, the total stars on the roster. We just looked at the 40 guys for each team, about 20 on offense, 20 on defense that will actually play in this game, because that's really all you need to worry about when you talk about talent gap within a game. And the most interesting matchup, I think, it's pretty even one way, but Tennessee's offense versus Georgia's defense. Georgia's defense has 10 of 11 starters are blue chips. That's 4-star, 5-star. Tennessee has, I think, 8 guys on offense, something like that. There are 3 stars or unrated. So you think about the key players in Tennessee's offense. Joey Aguilar, unrated at a high school. Deshaun Bishop, a walk-on. Chris Brazel, a 3-star out of high school. Miles Kitzelman, unrated out of high school. These are all guys that are key players. Star Thomas, 3-star out of high school, that are all sort of just like 3-star guys or unrated guys out of high school. That's on Tennessee's offense, and Georgia's defense is loaded with 4-star and 5-star. So if the talent gap if it means anything, that's where it's going to show up.
He's Adam Sparks. He's the best. We appreciate your time, buddy. Safe travels and enjoy the game on Saturday. We'll be somewhere drunk in the stands, I assume. So if you see anybody getting kicked out, there's many people at Neyland Stadium having a great time, but I'm sure Bert will be naked somewhere in the stands.
Oh, I'm just now getting into Nashville, so I barely missed coming in studio.
Oh, that would have been fantastic.
Well, it's a convenient excuse by you. Well done.
That's right.
See you, Adam.
See ya.
That's Adam Sparks with us on 104.5 The Zone, knoxnews.com for more details. You scared?
Oh, the BVS is not that high. I mean, it's just kind of, again,
is he lying, Robert? I don't care. He's just I don't care about the way that he's trying to deflect on us.
Why'd you look back at me like that? Why'd you look back at me like I wasn't supposed to?
Take my side, please.
I don't know if he's scared. But I do feel like he is maybe a little trepidatious. He may not want to talk as much smack because he realizes he may. It's like the old Perry Saturn line, like, you may whoop my ass, but you're going to have to. Like, he understands that they will have to whoop their ass.
It's just, I'm telling you, this whole season is kind of just this intriguing case study for me of, like, let's see what happens.
No, for sure. I just, like, my sense is, and I saw Tyler just say this in the chat, so we'll credit him, but Tyler Dial on YouTube says BVS is the lowest it's been for a Georgia game in a while. And that's just kind of the sense that I get from all of you about this. And understandably so, Georgia is not at the very top of the heap. They're obviously one of the best programs in the SEC. Nobody would dispute that. They, I think, inarguably have the best coach in the SEC until somebody comes along and pushes Kirby Smart for that title. I know Sark's got at least some level of he's got some part of the conversation, but it's Kirby. Tennessee, I wish that we had a greater sample size to know what these two teams actually are, but maybe that's to your advantage, the way that Sparks is saying. It's so early in the season. If you want to catch Georgia, maybe now's the time to catch them. And you want to beat them on even ground, I guess, to prove that you're better than them in one of these situations, maybe. Or maybe you just want to win. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, again, week 3, this is why it's so fascinating, because we're going to get to learn about Tennessee and Georgia in the SEC opener. We've not had that in the modern era, but there's also this kind of feeling of, and granted, when the ball kicks off and the bullets are flying, Tennessee fans are going to be living and dying with every play, right? But in the lead up to it, compare it to last year. Going down to Athens, Tennessee a 1-loss team, Georgia a 2-loss team, coming off that 18-point loss in Oxford. And it was a very clear, like, this game will be sort of a line of demarcation for Tennessee. Either you lose and you're still in the playoff hunt, but it's not as much of a guarantee, or you win and the path to 11-1 is right there, everything in front of you. Whereas this year, it's so much wider of a gap between a win and a loss. If you lose, then, okay, the season is more in line with the expectation going in. If you win and you beat Georgia for the first time in 8 years, for the first time in the Josh Heupel era, suddenly so many more possibilities open for what this season could be for Tennessee fans, which is why there's sort of this house money vibe to it, as opposed to the pressure feeling that there was going into Athens last year of this is a huge game in the playoff race. And I suppose you could say the same about this game, but it will adjust our expectations of the season dramatically. And if it is a loss, then it will be more in line with what we thought this season was going to be. And I can say now, it wouldn't necessarily be the most devastating thing for Tennessee fans. Again, context is everything. They could lose on a last-second field goal after playing a great 4 quarters, and it would be absolutely heartbreaking if it's there for the taking. But I don't know. That's why there's sort of this almost house money feel to this game. It's just an interesting vibe. We talked a lot in the 2022 season about the offense. How was Tennessee able to win 11 games in 2022, given all of the hurdles Heupel had to overcome, the roster he inherited, they weren't even close to that 85 scholarship limit in 2022. It was because of the offense. The offense was this equalizer. It balanced the scales, even if Tennessee had a talent deficit against the likes of Alabama and Clemson in that season, and they won both of those games because the offense was this great equalizer. So after 2022, there was this very exciting feeling of, okay, if the offense can continue to be that and the talent profile continues to get raised, that's more on par with the likes of Alabama and Georgia and so on, then it's very exciting to think about the possibilities of the Josh Heupel era. Well, the talent profile has steadily raised. Not enough, I will say, certainly not to the level of where Georgia is at the moment. 2026 recruiting class is looking good, but for right now, problem is the offense didn't reach those heights the last 2 years. There are these flashes in the first 2 weeks of the offense hearkening a little bit back to that 2022 season with the fit that Aguilar could be within that scheme. And while unproven, he is surrounded by a more talented on paper group than what Tennessee had even in 2022. So if those things can kind of mesh together, that the depth is better, the foundation is better, up front, defensively, that talent profile is raised, and the offense can go back to being this great equalizer, then can that be enough to tip the scales enough for Tennessee to beat Georgia for the first time, a team that has felt like it's been Tennessee-proof in the Josh Heupel era?
In the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can get Tennessee as a 3.5-point home underdog. The over-under is 49.5. Vols on the money line plus 150. So a $10 bet would net you $25 if the Vols were to straight up win. Over-under on that game.
Do you have it in front of you?
No, 49.5. I'm saying, would you?
49.
I may or may not place some entertainment purposes only wagers on this game.
Oh, then you have to bet the over. If it's for entertainment, you can't bet the under.
Yeah, if you're going to do it for entertainment purposes,
well, I'm going to be entertained because I'm going to be at the game. I don't really care. Like, I'm not going to check my bets while that's going on. I'm not a degenerate.
No, I get that. But if you bet the under, then when people score, every time you're going to be like, the under.
Well, I won't remember because then I'll look at my phone later and be like, damn, I lost that bet. But
okay, cool. Well,
I'm not somebody who, like, watches that while I'm watching a game.
Put one in for me for the over.
For Georgia, the question is the downfield passing game. Kirby talked a lot about that this week. Everybody Georgia has played, Marshall and Austin Peay so far, has given them whatever they want underneath and just prevented something from going over the top. And so Gunnar Stockton's taking what the defense is giving him and so on. So that's the test for Georgia. Can they test that downfield passing game against the Tennessee secondary without its two best corners? In turn, can Tennessee do more to affect the quarterback and shake Gunnar Stockton in his first ever road start? Mike Keith this morning had an interesting sort of comparison where Stockton has played higher quality opponents without question, right? But he's never done it on the road. Joey Aguilar has way more experience than Gunnar Stockton, but he's never done it to the level of college football playoff the way Stockton has. So we'll see which quarterback responds better in what will be a raucous environment Saturday.
615-737-1045. One NFL used-to-be contender is getting sandbagged with injuries right out of the gate. We'll tell you what's going on coming up next.
$10:43. Oh, that means it's almost lunchtime, which is, for me, and probably for you, the best part of your weekday. Well, I've got your answer. It's Hattie B's Hot Chicken. You can visit any one of their 7 locations in Middle Tennessee, the factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, and the Nashville Airport, and now at Nissan Stadium. That's right. You can enjoy Hattie B's famous hot chicken while you watch Titans vs. Rams, the home opener, this Sunday. Hattie B's is a family-run restaurant. It serves up your favorite Southern food in authentic Nashville hot chicken. If you prioritize sides like I do, well, they've got you covered. The Southern greens, the pimento mac and cheese, the bacon cheese grits complement that hot chicken perfectly. Top it off with a banana pudding or peach cobbler. By the way, if you download the Hattie B's app today, you can order for pickup and delivery, and you get a free dessert. Just for downloading the app, start to build up those rewards. By the way, Hattie B is now doing salads. 2 words, cornbread, croutons. And go to Hattie B's today.
Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. The 49ers can't get right. Brock Purdy is expected to miss 2 to 5 weeks with what is being described. Have you heard, either of the two of you heard this phrase before? A turf toe variant? Is this like COVID?
Oh, no.
We're getting variants of turf toe? What specifically connotes a variant of a toe fracture?
Where did Brock Purdy go to pick up this variant?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what
Where in the San Francisco streets?
Are there vaccines that are required for the variants of turf toe?
Well, instead of toe hair now, he just has like little grass growing out of his big toe.
Toe meat?
It's toe meat.
Chance Warmack, gross. But it is not expected, obviously, that he would play this week against the New Orleans Saints. They are, I believe, in New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken. Kyle Shanahan said that it was a long shot yesterday and that it could be a multi-week issue. Mac Jones is the backup quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, so he will start. So they will be without Brock Purdy and George Kittle, at the very least.
Brandon Ayuk.
Juwan Jennings has been a day-to-day proposition, though he's no sure thing for Sunday's game.
McCaffrey feels, I don't know, tenuous. He did play.
He's been day-to-day his entire career.
You say that, but like he hasn't for like the last 2 years.
Okay, 2 years out of his entire career.
But like he hit a groove there in San Francisco where he was available and excellent. I don't think that should just be wiped away. Like, yes, Carolina.
I just think he's perpetually overrated.
Nothing but injury
He's a fun player when he's out there, but the rest of it. Anyway, 49ers. I don't want to say that it's like window closed type of situation, but it does feel like this iteration of them, and they've sustained for a long time, right? They found ways to make it to Super Bowls with Jimmy Garoppolo. Shanahan's never won a Super Bowl, whether it be as a head coach or a coordinator, but like they have prolonged the competitive window for San Francisco across a couple of different quarterbacks, which is the hardest thing to do, and they benefit by Mr. Irrelevant being the quarterback that they finally settled on. But it feels like we're coming to a screeching halt with that. Like this year feels like the year that the Niners have to focus on rebuilding what they've got, which is crazy to say before we've even played a snap of week 2. Week 2 starts tonight, of course, with the Bears.
It's Commanders at Packers.
Yeah,
the thing is, though, San Francisco, like I agree with you, but they can survive this early slate where they go to the Saints, who could be the worst team in the league this year. They host the Cardinals, and they host the Jaguars before a stretch that includes Rams, Bucks, Falcons, Texans. It gets significantly tougher after the first month of the season for San Francisco. So if they can survive that, I don't know what Brandon Ayuk's current prognosis is, timetable for return. I know that George Kittle would be eligible to come back after that Rams game on October 2nd. But there's no doubt that there is growing concern. I would imagine there is significant growing concern in San Francisco, and they're going to need Christian McCaffrey to be healthy. You know, would you say he's had more healthy season or injury-plagued seasons in his career?
McCaffrey?
Yeah.
How many seasons has he played?
Since 2017. 9. This is his 9th.
So a healthy season would connote what, 12 or more games?
Yeah.
I'd say he's probably had more healthy seasons than not.
He played in all 16 games the first 3 years of his career.
Okay.
Then he got 2020, 2021, played 10 games total, just injury plagued.
Sure.
2022, played in all 17 games, was traded mid-season to the Niners.
Right.
2023 had that phenomenal season where San Francisco gets to the Super Bowl, and he's almost a huge part of them winning in overtime against the Chiefs. And then last year is where injuries kind of... So really, it's been 2 years out of his career that have been injury-plagued. The rest, he's been healthy and excellent. But last year, it popped up again. Played only 4 games.
And they had it across the board, right? I mean, their roster was bereft of talent by the time they finally got around to finishing out the season. I mean, so I guess Ayuk is just dealing with recovery from the ACL tear last year? That's what's been keeping him out?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was more than that. It was an ACL
and an MCL.
Yeah. Multiple ligaments in the knee.
But, like, that was week 7. Traylon Burks came back. And I know his wasn't a full ACL tear, but he had ACL repair surgery. And I'm not, it's people's bodies are different. People's recovery situations are different. I'm surprised that I guess we're still talking about that with Brandon Ayuk, given that he missed far more time or was shut down way earlier in the season, and we're now into the next season, and he's still not available.
Scott says Brock Purdy stepped on a fent needle in San Francisco.
Of all the comments to read. What?
Wait, is fentanyl something you inject? I thought it was in Coke.
I don't know.
I mean, you can. Medically, I guess you can. But,
Oh, you have expertise.
well, I mean, it's micrograms. I know that. Like, if you have an overdose of fentanyl is a microgram, which is like 1,000th of a gram. So, like...
Don't do drugs, kids.
Well,
Ayuk
don't do those drugs.
allegedly is set to return in week 6.
Well, obviously, that is going to limit them for quite some time, but it would also make them prone to trying to acquire a wide receiver or a skill position player if they're going to be without their top line guys for the next couple of weeks. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're just content to ride it out and do what they can this season and come what may, because it doesn't feel like it's any kind of a quick fix for them right now. I mean, we talked about Trent Williams, who is just now at 37 starting to decline, which is an insane thing, but how pivotal he is for what they're trying to accomplish on offense. And they're just, it seems like they are, as a team, week by week at this point in time. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to participate, you are welcome to do so. Brian Callahan had a comment yesterday at his press conference, and we're going to talk about how real the difference between 2024 and 2025 as a football team is for the Tennessee Titans. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first Titans injury report of the week came out on Wednesday ahead of the home opener against the Rams. J.C. Latham, Quandre Diggs, Khalil Mullings, and Tavondre Sweat did not practice. Arden Key, L'Jarius Sneed, and Kevin Winston Jr. were limited. Cam Ward met with the media yesterday and was asked about the emotions of potentially throwing his first career touchdown at Nissan Stadium on Sunday.
I really have no emotion for it. I just want the football. Other than that, I really don't want the other ones. But, I mean, I'm excited. I threw a lot of touchdowns before. I know I'm going to throw a lot of touchdowns in the NFL. But, if the first one come in Nissan, that'd be one I'm ready for.
Week 2 kicks off with an NFC battle on Thursday Night Football tonight at Lambeau Field. The Packers host the Commanders with kickoff at 7:15. You can hear the Westwood One broadcast right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Here we go again. That is the vibe that Sunday's Titans loss had for some of you, I'm sure. For Brian Callahan, he was asked that question in his Monday recap press conference, and he had a different kind of response. Now, obviously, you don't want to overreact to too many things that happen after one singular game in a 17-game sample size across 18 weeks, as is typically the case. But given the extreme way that they cost themselves that game, there was a little bit of, what's the word? Recall, PTSD, to what last year's Titans experience was. Different, but the same. Now, Brian Callahan was asked that question on Monday, as I mentioned, by, I believe it was Gentry Estes, if I'm not mistaken. Gentry asked that question, columnist at the Tennessean. Either way, let's hear from Brian Callahan about the here we go again feeling, or if there was a here we go again feeling after Sunday's most recent loss.
Yeah, this team is very different from that. I understand where you're coming from. I know that feeling. But I didn't feel that at all from our football team in that game. I was frustrated at just the things that we could have done to win the game, and a game that I felt like we had a very good chance to win. To not come out of that playing better than we did in all three phases, I think, was what was disappointing. Disappointed in myself, obviously, on top of it. So I love the makeup of our football team. I really do. I think they have the right mentality. They understand that we always are going to have a chance. They play really hard. They play with great effort. Those things are going to help us along the way, and we're going to win more football games. But that feeling that can creep in sometimes, I don't feel it from our guys. I think we've got really good leadership. The leadership has grown quite a bit, I think, in a year's time. And the new faces we've added and the young players and their demeanor and makeup gives me a ton of confidence that that's not something that we have to worry about. And I really do. I mean, I know it's only 1 week and all that, but I really do like the makeup of our football team and where they stand. It's a night and day difference in totality from a year ago.
All right. You buying it?
Well, the whole point is they got to prove it, right? I mean, that was Brian Callahan's wording throughout the lead up to week 1, right? Offensive line feels improved, feels like the defense is going to play violently, aggressively, special teams. Got to go out and prove it. And they did prove some of those things in week 1, at least for the time being. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it has to sustain. But what could prove that more than improving on the self-inflicted stuff that let them down on Sunday? Because the thing is, last year, like, it's one thing to lose games because the opponent and the opposing roster is just better. Like, there is a general acknowledgement that that's going to be the case in a lot of games this year.
Yep.
But it's another thing to lose games because of what you are doing to yourself. And it's not that simple, right? The Broncos' defense is elite. They have something to do with it.
But Bo Nix didn't beat them.
Right. So the thing is, last year, I believe that they fought and there was effort and all of those things all the way to the end. That's bare minimum, yes. But that was there. I don't think he lost the team at any point last year. but the self-inflicted stuff just piled up so dramatically that games are just getting away from them. It got extreme last year. So that's the problem. They never stopped committing the sins last season. I don't think they stopped playing for Brian Callahan. They just kept doing the self-inflicted stuff. It's the reason why it was such a big off-season emphasis. So that's the way to prove it, is you cut that stuff back. Because I do believe they're going to be in there scrapping every single game, even if they are the less talented team on paper.
You think they're playing for him? Or you think they're playing because they're professional athletes and they know that their jobs and their livelihoods
sure, but
are dictated?
We've talked about this before.
No, I think that's an important distinction.
Well, it can be both. Look, we've talked about this before. We've seen, yes, they're professionals. That's a very bare minimum thing. But we have seen head coaches lose locker rooms before.
Oh, yeah. I saw Vrabel do it.
Right. We saw, for me, the most extreme recent example was Vegas with McDaniels. Was it McDaniels? Right?
McDaniels.
That's extreme. And when that happens, it is so plain to see.
They were smoking cigars in the locker room.
Oh, they couldn't wait for him to get out. It was toxic.
Or what was the Broncos coach prior to, was it after Fangio? What was his name? Hackett?
John Fox?
No. Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah,
Nathaniel Hackett. Like that guy.
Yeah. Didn't have respect for him. Just never had that team. And you can tell. There's on the sideline, players are getting into it. The Russell Wilson stuff. That stuff,
I think there's moments where when it happens, but I think those moments are far fewer than the romanticizing sports. Oh, win one for the coach. I just don't think that happens as often as, they have a job. Go out and beat the opponent. And sometimes it can have some familial vibes, but Jeff Fisher was in here with us. Lucas talking about it's not a family. It's not. That's not what this is. This is a job. This is a workplace. Mm-hmm. And you're expected to go out there and do their job. So I'm only reading into that comment because you specifically mentioned that. I don't think that they go out there and play specifically for.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
All I'm saying is when a coach loses a locker room,
yes,
and we have seen it happen, it is out there in plain sight. I don't think we saw any evidence of that last year. They were just not a good football team last year. They did things that hurt themselves last year. So that's how you prove this isn't a here we go again, 2025 isn't 2024.
Although they did lose Hopkins.
Is you cut back that stuff.
Yeah. They lost.
They traded him. Yep.
No. They lost Hopkins.
Yeah, the Bills game. Yeah. Looked like he no longer wanted to be there.
I think that's, and that's fine. DeAndre clearly wanted to go play in a more competitive situation and had more leverage than your average player does, but I don't think that's.
I'm just saying, if you believe that the team doesn't play for Brian Callahan, it doesn't have to be extreme one way or the other. I feel like you want me to either say, no, they play for themselves.
No, I don't want you to say one thing or the other. I just don't want to overhype something that's not as big a part of it as it actually is.
If you don't believe that they're fighting and playing for him, then you have to have evidence. You have to have evidence.
I'm not saying one way or the other. I just don't think it's as big a thing as people want to make it. It's like when people think that they're playing for the logo on their helmets as opposed to the paychecks. No, they don't care as much about the team that they play for as you do. They're not fans of the team. They're fans of their paychecks. Now, without spinning our wheels on a conversation like that, the biggest difference is the quarterback, and we talked about this yesterday after the press conference. One quarterback would nuke you. The other one is going to keep you in games because he's, to this point, you cannot bother Cam Ward. Mentally.
He's wired very differently.
Yes. You cannot bother Cam Ward that way. You hope that is the trait of his that continues and carries you well into the future, because that is a quality that you are not going to be able to rep or that you are not going to be able to hone. He has to have it or he doesn't. The last guy didn't. This one does. So we'll see if they can continue to keep things afloat around him so he's not constantly being tested in that department, though he will be constantly tested throughout the course of his career. He'll just have to keep things on track, and that's never seemed to be too much of a heavy lift for him because that's who he is at his core. So when I ask you, are you buying that line from Brian Callahan, I would, just on face value, because of Cam Ward and because of the trickle-down effect that he has on that locker room. He is unburdened by the baggage of all their losing. He's lost one game. They lost 14 last year, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with them. Now, the other part of this is he's saying that we're going to win more football games, and of course that's what you want to hear from your coach. That's the approach that the coach has to take. They don't plan on losing football games. But there are things there that accumulated in that game that will directly cost them the opportunity to win football games. How many of their issues just on Sunday, let's take it as a one-game sample size and not attach the baggage of last season, even though there's a good bit of carryover there, drops, penalties, poor offensive line play. Not perfect decision-making by Cam Ward, though that's way further down on the list, and then coaching malpractice from Brian Callahan in at least two separate instances that were critical points in the game. The coaching stuff, I have to imagine is correctable, but I also felt that way about Will Levis in Chicago. Like, I was convinced that was the worst play I was ever going to see him make in his career, and then he did it again. So I'm going to assume that the Callahan thing is the easiest thing to correct. You didn't know the rule, now you do. The penalties are the most detrimental of all of the things that plagued them, and that is the thing that they have spent the most time hyper-fixated on in the offseason to fix, and then they had their most penalized game under Brian Callahan on Sunday. Now, is that a one-game sample size? Is that how it's going to be all year long? None of us could possibly tell you that. But that's the thing that needs to be fixed the most and seems to be the most difficult thing for them to fix.
Yeah, which it feels like should be the most correctable thing, right? Like, don't penalties feel like they should be the most?
I mean, yeah. I feel like I said that all year long, and then they didn't. They didn't correct them.
I mean,
they
again,
were the
I think they were
fourth most penalized team in football.
I think they were genuinely surprised at how much it hampered them last week, because there are officials at practice, right? Like, preseason is preseason, but they weren't doing those things in preseason game. When the first team is out there, guys aren't jumping off sides and having personal fouls and this and that. So I do think they were genuinely caught off guard at how much it plagued them now coming back home in front of what I think will be a good crowd at Nissan Stadium for Cam Ward's debut.
Game one for sure.
Absolutely. It'll be a good crowd, a good environment. You shift the scene to
Weather
week 2.
is going to be brutal, though.
It'll be hot.
Going to be hot.
But you're set up in an environment where it should naturally lessen the risk of penalties. When you're not in a hostile environment, the communications issues aren't there as much as they were in Denver. So we'll see. We'll see if they are able to walk that stuff back, at least in a better way than it hurt them in Denver.
Well, speaking of things that hurt them in Denver, there was a lot of gaslighting. I'm going to call it gaslighting on the internet on Monday and Tuesday after Cam Ward's debut. A lot of people making way more of it than should have been made. So what we're going to do is we're going to play you some reasonable and nuanced analysis from Greg Cosell. The latest episode of The Install went live this morning. Robert, is it also on YouTube or just via the podcast?
You'll have to check. It's on YouTube.
Okay, very good. So we will play a good portion of Cosell's Cam Ward analysis and the things that he did well and the things that he needs to improve on. Coming up next. You want to make sure that you are financially independent. You want to make sure that you are secure as far as your finances go, because if you are currently experiencing financial insecurity or a lack of financial independence, you know what stress that can bring on your life, your family's life, and how many different things it can impact. Trajan Wealth is here to help you with exactly that, whether it's wealth management strategies or retirement planning or tactical investments that are going to put you in position to succeed. Trajan Wealth has helped so many people, and they can help you too. As a veteran, Trajan Wealth CEO Jeff Jr. fully appreciates the importance of true independence. He founded Trajan Wealth as an independent firm, allowing fiduciary advisors the ability to customize a portfolio to meet your unique goals and needs. So call Trajan Wealth to discuss options for achieving that financial independence today. 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000. 2 locations here in Middle Tennessee, Brentwood and Franklin, or online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. They're officially open in Middle Tennessee. They're probably open in Atlanta. Well, they're an hour ahead in Atlanta, so they're open in Atlanta, Birmingham, Dallas, Austin, Vegas. I mean, not quite Vegas. Just a little behind us, but 11 o'clock, all the Hattie B's locations are open and available to you. If you're in Middle Tennessee, you can download the Hattie B's app, and you can mobile order if you're working from home. If you're at the office, you can delight your colleagues, your workmates with a bucket of Hattie B's hot chicken. Robert was bothering me about a bucket of Hattie B's hot chicken yesterday.
I know. I thought that they were over with, but just the promo's over with. You can still get a bucket of chicken, right?
Oh, you can always get a bucket of chicken.
Oh, I need a bucket of wings.
I love whole wings.
Same. I like the little crispy niblet at the end of the wing. Like when you cook it good enough and you can just like...
So I'm surprised you like the whole wings.
Why?
You got to get some work done. You got to get in there. You're not used to not having things handed to you, so I'm surprised, especially doing it with a fork and knife.
It's easier with a fork and knife.
It can't be.
There's more room.
There's
just
no
not true.
way.
More room to work.
Yeah, crab legs, oysters, anything you have to work $4 out on.
No, I just make sure that somebody cracks them open for me.
Ah, yes.
I'm not going to do all that.
His mother, in most cases.
Can you imagine going out to eat with Buck and he's like, yes, I'd like the crab legs, please, but I would need some assistance with this. And someone has to stand beside him, crack the leg open, dip it in butter, put it in his mouth, wipe his chin.
That's right.
He'd say he would send it back. Buck seems like the type of guy to send something
This
back.
is an Alaskan king crab. This is
actually,
blue.
You're right. I do seem like the type of person to send things back, but I'm more scared of what they'll do after to the food if I do send it back, because I hate those people. Like, those people are actually the worst. I've got a lot of, baggage that way, but the people that will make a scene about their food, especially if it's something like minute, like, get out of here.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah, I've seen Waiting. I'm not sending anything back.
Good movie, underrated.
Oh, that's a great movie. That movie I've seen.
It was like, add a little Famunda cheese. It's like, okay, no thank you.
Yeah,
I'm never sending anything back ever again.
Especially if Dane Cook's in that kitchen.
Bad wing.
Has there been a bigger fall off from public scrutiny than Dane Cook?
He was the king for a while.
He was everywhere for like 5 years, and then all of a sudden he's gone.
Jeff Dunham, the puppet guy.
Oh, yeah. Everybody got tired of ventriloquy.
It's like, all right, we
don't
get
tell
it.
Dawn
Dude.
that.
I kill you. Like, all right, we get it, buddy.
All right. Speaking of things that people aren't tired of, people aren't tired of Cam Ward hype. Now, how much of it is real and how much of it is gaslighting? The internet was filled with Cam Ward gaslighting on Monday and Tuesday. That does not mean that you shouldn't be optimistic about Cam Ward. But of the people who were making a big deal about Cam Ward's performance in Denver on Sunday, Lucas and Robert, can you tell me what all three of those people had in common?
Oh, overwhelming praise.
They're all quarterbacks.
All quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah, all four NFL quarterbacks.
Kurt Benkert, Chase Daniel, Dan Orlovsky. And that's fine. There are a few people, if any people, more qualified to talk about the quarterback position than people who have played the quarterback position. But when Dan Orlovsky gets on Pat McAfee and says that Cam Ward had 8 drops, that's not true.
Yeah, we said the second we heard that, we were like, I don't know if they dropped 8 balls, Dan, but
also,
okay.
when Dan Orlovsky says that the performance was outstanding, let's not, okay? He was 11 of 28. Like, there are some things that he did well.
Who's box score watching now?
There's some things that he did well, but he was not outstanding by any stretch of the imagination. He was fine for a rookie making his first start against a tough defense. Why can it not be that? You want to talk about veering to extremes? The extremes were everywhere after that Cam Ward performance. So I asked Cosell about it today, and this was the conversation. Welcome into the install with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. Actual games to react to. We got a fun Thursday night game tonight, Greg, as we tape this on a Thursday morning, of course. But, on the whole, a lot of teams coming out with some mixed results in week one, in particular Tennessee, which had some interesting takeaways from a football schematic perspective, more than anything, even though a lot of the dialogue has been taken up by other things earlier in the week.
Yeah, which is normal. And those things are valid to discuss for sure. But, I'm sure most people, it's funny. Obviously I was watching Red Zone on Sunday, and then of course I came in and watched the tape. and I really studied the offense hard. But it's funny. People are probably hoping, well, they're going to Denver. People are talking about Denver maybe being the AFC representative in the Super Bowl this year. I just hope we don't get blown out. And then all of a sudden the game's really tight. And then, then people start to feel like, well, we got a chance to win this game, so let's not screw it up. But it's funny how all that works, Let's just hope we have a close game. But then when you're close, you want to win.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're that close, when you can see all the different opportunities that were missed, Greg, and Denver will be a good football team, even though they didn't play their cleanest game on Sunday. So it's an interesting kind of case study. And as you mentioned, this was going to be a fun matchup to talk about one way or the other. And I think that it did end up paying dividends that way, even if the Titans didn't come out on the winning side of things. But let's obviously start with Cam Ward. Sure. And the day that he was, from our perspective, Greg, kind of as expected. The moment was not too big for him. He made a couple of wow plays. There were some things that he did well in structure. There were other missed opportunities that he had. I wonder if you could give a little more detail for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the performance was up and down. You saw the kinds of things that you like. I mean, obviously, people get excited about plays, on the first third down of the game, which was 3rd and 10, when he was forced out of the pocket. What was interesting on that play was Zeitler just got driven right back into the pocket by Franklin Myers. So Ward had to move, and just unbelievable awareness getting the ball to Pollard. It's those kinds of plays, and they're important plays, believe me. Don't get me wrong, but those are clearly the kinds of plays that get people excited. They're outside of structure plays. You have to be able to make some of those plays somewhere along the line. I thought that on the second possession, he had held for 16 yards. Really good, precise timing and ball placement. That was a really good throw. Before we get to some more specific plays, I'll just give you like a world view. I think that what Ward has to work on, a couple of things. And by the way, this is not a surprise at all. So I hope people listening don't think, it's like when I've talked about Caleb Williams, because obviously I got asked about him all week by 100 people. I'm saying this is what the tape showed on Monday night. I'm not defining his whole career. So when I talk about Ward now, this is what the tape showed. I'm not defining his career. Okay. But I think generally, mentally, he was good and bad. There were times he definitely needed to pick up his mental tempo. It just needed to happen a little quicker. And that's normal for a guy. Don't forget, he hasn't played a 4-quarter game since college. So, now this is not playing 12 snaps. It's a totally different animal. So he has to do that. We know he can snap the ball with velocity. I think one of the things that he needs to work on is just throwing with more pace and touch when demanded. And I think, and this is the thing that's very common for rookie quarterbacks, very common for young quarterbacks, whether they're rookies or not, is he has to develop sort of a more innate, refined feel of what is pressure and what is not pressure by NFL standards. Because a lot of college quarterbacks don't really face throws with people around them, Buck. So, when they get anybody close to them, they start to feel like, oh, I got to move. I can't make a throw. Like, I'll give you a great example of that. I thought that on 2nd and 19 on the second possession, they ran a great route concept. Ridley was wide open on a great outcut from the slot versus Hafanga. That's exactly what you wanted, your best receiver on a safety. Now, Cushenberry could not control the D-tackle Jones really well. Ward had to move to his left. He ended up throwing the check down for 1 yard. I don't know if you remember this specific play. I think Ward would learn that when he moved left, he could have settled and made the throw to Ridley. Yeah. It was such a well-designed big play opportunity. But again, he felt the pressure and he moved, and, he's not used, and young quarterbacks are not used on plays like that to sort of resetting and delivering the ball.
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know what's in his head. I'm not going to sit here and say he should have done it absolutely 100%, but there was room to do that. And, that's something that you play more, you realize what pressure is and what pressure isn't by NFL standards.
And in fact, Greg, to his credit, and this will be a learning process for him throughout his entire career, right? It's not just restricted to his rookie season, but he gave his press conference yesterday and he talked about plays that he would have liked to have back. He mentioned that play specifically as an opportunity there, that once they showed it to him and then once they explained it further on how he might be able to capitalize there, that he was regretting a little bit the missed opportunity.
And I didn't, I'm just grinding away watching tape. I feel I'm trying to watch more and more every year, and believe it or not, sometimes it goes slower because as I learn more and more, it takes me longer. So I just been grinding away. So I don't hear press conferences. I don't, and I don't read them because that takes time away from watching tape. But it's interesting they mentioned that play because that really stood out to me as a great example of that. And that's, those are the nuances of the position. Everybody can see, oh, he can snap it off. Everybody can see that. Everybody can see, oh man, this guy can make some plays outside of structure. Those are the obvious things we can see that get people excited, as they should, by the way. And you know how I feel about Cam Ward. But these are the nuances, the details, the subtleties, the disciplined craft part of the position that you have to learn at the NFL level, where everything happens a little faster. The players are better. There's going to be more throws with people around you that are not pressure. See, it's funny because all these websites now have pressure throws, and people always ask me about that. And my first response to that, because of who I've been taught by over many years in this business, is I've been taught by great people. I always say, I've got to see those plays. I don't know if that's pressure by my view of pressure based on who I've been taught by. And that's why I'm actually, not that it validates anything. No, Cam Ward or Brian Callahan or the coaching staff, they don't need me to validate anything, But the point is, that's nice for me to hear because when I saw that play, that's the first thing I thought of. I believe he could have stopped and made that throw. And obviously, the coaching staff felt the same way. And Ward, once he saw it, felt the same way.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're looking for from a rookie quarterback that's trying to get a grasp of this learning curve at the NFL level, Greg, because we saw a lot of the plays that made him a fun college player beyond just a good NFL prospect, right? Where he's trying to make something happen after the pocket collapses. That completion, that 29-yarder to Pollard on the first drive is an example of that. And as the game got away from them in terms of the control of what they were trying to do, and they ended up having to drop back more, and he's chasing, like you saw him continue to try that stuff, and obviously that's not going to work against the Denver Broncos defense over and over again.
And I thought that the Titans had receivers consistently open in the first half. But I would say a combination of intermittent, less than sturdy pass pro and Ward at times lack of comfort in the pocket, resulted in some plays left on the field. But I thought they did a really nice job with their concepts. I mean, obviously, the most glaring one was the touchdown that should have been just routine to Jefferson. I mean, that Benito sack was on Ward 1,000%. I mean, the play design worked perfectly. Jefferson was wide open on the outcut. It was an easy TD. Buck, I dare to say you could have made that throw. But for some reason, Ward turned away from that to the backside. He turned away to look at Cooper, who was really nowhere near him. And then he got sacked. I mean, Benito certainly would not been a factor if Ward had just delivered the football. So again, only Ward, I don't know if they discussed that play, but only Ward could tell you, what was going on in his head on that play.
Yeah, we didn't specifically talk about that play with him post-game, Greg, but I'm sure that's one of those opportunities that if brought up specifically to him, he would have referenced as a play he would have liked to have back. I'm sure the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, that one was glaring. I mean, there's always ones that are a little, the area is a little gray, so to speak, but that one was glaring. But you never know. I mean, he missed one too. And now I'm trying to remember. The play where he, I think, ran around and hit Ridley. He was where they were backed up. He ran around and hit Ridley for 13 yards early in the fourth quarter. Which is a play a lot of people are talking about to say, wow, look at Ward. He can make these outside of structured plays. That was another example. He had Ridley wide open on the dig route and Daggett right within structure. He was wide open. And it appeared he looked right at him. And for some reason, it didn't register. So he ran around and he made a second reaction throw that never should have gotten to that point. And again, I can't tell you why he didn't throw it because there was no one around Ridley on the dig. And again, Ridley obviously had some drops, but that's usually not the case with Ridley. I don't know what happened in this game. It's maybe just one of those games. But Ridley was wide open with plenty of room to run. I mean, that would have been a big play. So, again, only the quarterback can tell you what's on his mind. The big issue in this game that people are, I'm sure, talking about is, the O-line didn't hold up the way we were hoping. So what's started to happen, which is exactly what you don't want, is the Titans had to start chipping and deploying backs and tight ends at times as primary pass protectors in pure pass situations to make certain that Ward was secure. And that's exactly what you were hoping you didn't have to do. But, unfortunately, now granted, this is a really good defense. They led the league in sacks last year. They've got really good players all across the defensive front, not just on the edge. Of course, they're playing a team that can really rush the quarterback as well, and that is really good with stunts. I mean, this is going to be a real challenge.
Yeah, and that's something that I talked to Peter Skoronsky about yesterday in the locker room, Greg, and that's something that obviously they're keyed in on, and it'll, there will be some advantages to playing at home. They won't have to work the silent count the way that they did at Denver, and some of those things may clean up that operation or clean up that offensive line performance a bit. But again, the expectation is for them to perform, and they didn't have their best outing, I'm sure that they would admit to you, on Sunday in Denver. On the whole, Greg, from just a schematic and tactical standpoint, it sounds like you did like the approach that Brian Callahan and the offense went at Denver with in the onset before things started to get out of hand due to penalties and miscues.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I thought there were some really good route concepts that presented some defined, clean throws. It didn't all work out for any number of reasons. Sometimes it was pressure. Sometimes it was Ward just not being as quick as he needed to be. Other times he was quick and got the ball right out. The ball placement has to be more precise. I mean, when you have guys open, like for instance, the play right after DK, which was talked about a lot, I'm sure, down in Nashville, where DK was supposed to bend it more inside, and which Ward expected, and that's where he threw it. So that's not an inaccurate throw because he was expecting him to bend it in. And Ward, who's very rarely demonstrative, clearly, said, hey, you saw him do that. The very next play was another seam ball to Ridley. That's not a drop. That was not a good enough throw. When I watch these plays, what goes off in my head? When I spent time at the San Francisco 49ers with Bill Walsh, and if the ball was not thrown in a perfectly catchable position by Montana, he would make him do it again. That's the bottom line point is, if guys are reaching for balls and it catches their fingertips, those are not catchable balls. You can sit here and say, well, it touched his hands, he should catch it. But that's not where the ball should be. Yeah. So we can debate that all day long, but those are not drops. Now, Ridley had like 2, maybe 3 that were clearly drops, that just hit him, right there. Those are drops. But like the Chig play, that's not a drop.
Right.
That may have caught his fingernail on one hand. That's not a drop.
Yeah, and again, we don't have. So that is a portion of the conversation with Greg Cosell of NFL Films Today. You can catch the full podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast. You can also go watch the full episode on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube channel at your convenience. Some good context there rather than, like I said, hyperbole. There's nothing wrong with being excited, but you want to make sure you have good context. And there's plenty of things that Cam Ward can improve upon. It all sounds fairly routine, though, Lucas, when you talk about some of the things that he has to work on, and completely normal for a rookie quarterback in his first start.
Yeah, and I agree with Greg on the drop. So we were a little loose with that term throughout the course of the week. 8 drops from Dan Orlovsky is quite the exaggeration. What would we say, though?
Dan was excited. 3. I would give them 3.
Yeah, which is still too many.
2 Ridley, 1 Iamaner.
Yeah, and the one to Ridley was the most egregious.
Yes,
right?
by a mile.
That is your number 1 receiver, one of the highest paid people on the football team in a moment where you just have to have it. But, yeah, it's obviously nuanced stuff as usual from Greg Cosell. And Cameron Ward was good in his rookie debut. He was far from the reason you lost, and he even helped put you in position to stay in that game later than you did, down a score late. So hard to not be encouraged by what you saw from the rookie quarterback. Again, frustratingly encouraging. For me, is the takeaway from week 1 of the Titans, that they were in the game, that the defense played the way it did.
Frustratingly encouraging.
Yes, that the quarterback was poised the way he was poised, that special teams seems to be totally turned around, and yet it was the self-inflicted stuff that held them back. That can be both very frustrating and encouraging to show that the Titans can hang with a team dubbed a Super Bowl contender at the start of the season. And we'll see if that plays out again on Sunday at home.
Speaking of Cameron Ward, we'll hear from him. He gave a press conference yesterday. That's coming up next. Hey, Cameron. What are you laughing about, Lucas?
Nobody can hear me laughing.
You are so loud. He was all worried that his microphone was too far away from him when he had to use a different mic. Buddy, I walked into the building today, okay? Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. I walked down the hallway. You two are outside with Bert smoking a cigarette, and I could hear you yelling about whatever it was that you were yelling about today. Like anybody within... Concrete does not stop you, all right? You leaning back in your seat a little further away from the microphone.
This feels like a throwing stones at glass houses situation.
I am not nearly as loud as you are. I'm strident.
Oh, please. Go back and listen to the Monday show of you just...
No.
Talk about performative.
No, I was actually pissed because I don't want to have to go through another miserable season where they pee all over themselves again. I'm not loud.
Oh, sure.
I'm strident.
No, you are.
I'm
speak
obnoxious.
You speak at a whisper.
I am probably above average as far as human beings go. You are a foghorn.
Oh, yeah. No, you've got an inside voice. That's what everybody says.
Your inside voice, that was your inside voice, and it drowned me out. You trying to whisper is the funniest thing. Well, look at you. You can't even deny it.
I don't think we can make fun of him for this because he can't help it. You cannot help it. Sometimes we'll be in that room.
No, it's like a version of Tourette's. He just yells.
We'll be talking about a sensitive subject, maybe something we don't want someone else to hear, and be like, hey, Luke is like, yeah, I can't stand when that happens.
Or like we're talking, we're
gosh.
trying to talk, we're trying to talk at least in at least somewhat quiet tones about people that we don't like, and Luke is just, yeah. She sucks.
Yeah, golly.
Like literally 3 feet of brick wall can't stop him.
He can't help it. I ain't mad at you, buddy.
I'm not saying you're wrong. These are all correct. I'm saying you're a hypocrite.
I spit my DDP everywhere.
I promise you, if we did a decibel level between you and me, you're winning every time. I very rarely do I concede things. That I concede. You are louder than me.
I will say, on the board, I have to have Buck's microphone louder than yours.
Because you are so damn loud. People in the chat, we can all hear it.
Okay, but that's because
Jesse Gentry on YouTube. We can all hear it, LMAO.
It's because they can't hear the music. So they're obviously going to pick it up.
No, it's not Lucas off mic.
His parents bust in his room when he was like in middle school. He's like, who are you in here talking to? He's like, I wasn't talking to anybody on
Just
the phone.
sleep talking.
Yeah, like screaming in his sleep.
What we learned is that Lucas does not have an inside voice. What Cam Ward learned from his first start. Why don't we start with, well, he was asked that direct question yesterday at his press conference as we get ready for a game against the Los Angeles Rams and Cam Ward's home debut.
I would say it's a lot of stuff I want back just from my position, but that's going to be with every game. I always want plays back. But I'll say the biggest thing that I learned from in that game is you always in it, no matter it's first quarter to fourth quarter, like you always got a chance to win a game. Offensively, we didn't, come through with that. And then also just recognizing the coverages, but also just trusting to throw blind sometimes. Just feel people lift out of space and, just got to replace it with your receivers.
So that's Cam Ward speaking on some of the things that Cosell was pointing out after tape evaluation, and then he was asked specifically about plays that he wants back.
I would say it's a lot of stuff I want back just from my position, but that's going to be with every game. I always want plays back. But I'll say the biggest thing that I learned from in that game is you always in it, no matter it's first quarter to fourth quarter, like you always got a chance to win a game. Offensively, we didn't, come through with that. And then also just recognizing the coverages, but also just trusting to throw blind sometimes. Just feel people lift out of space and, just got to replace it with your receivers.
Now, that last part's interesting. Got to throw blind sometimes. Like you don't necessarily see where the receiver is at, but you got to trust that when you throw to a spot that guy's going to be there.
Trust will be there.
And that's a part of the NFL, right? That's some of the anticipatory stuff that a lot of quarterbacks make their name on. Phillip Rivers was probably the best example of it. I'm sure you could talk about Brady or Manning or people like that at the highest end of these things. But, I mean, Tua's been a statistically productive quarterback because Mike McDaniel devised an offense where Tua's just throwing to spots. Now, if you sit on some of those spots, you figure it out. to what looks like a much more mortal quarterback. But that's a part of the skill set that Cam Ward is going to have to develop. And again, will he do it definitively? None of us know. But you do trust that he does have, one, the right mindset, two, the right work ethic. And I'm not down on the support system around him from a coaching standpoint just because of Sunday. Like, Sunday was egregious. We've talked about it at length. But I do think that Brian Callahan is capable of helping him refine and fine-tune a lot of these things. It's not like Brian Callahan, career football person, football lifer, and former quarterback himself, has just forgotten everything about the position because he got a rule wrong.
I haven't forgotten that you can join us Monday at Two Rivers Ford, 76 Belinda Parkway in Mount Juliet, to find out how you can help fill a Ford with non-perishable food items to help feed our community. It's all a part of Ford Motor Company's Global Caring Month and the world's largest food drive. To learn more, visit 1045thezone.com/events or visit tworiversford.com today. We're all going to be there broadcasting live every show from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. So come see us, help impact lives, help donate food to those in need, and we'll be having a reaction Monday from Titans and Rams.
We'll see if I can't get a new car. You think they'd hook me up
Why don't
with
you just get a new windshield?
No, because it ain't the windshield. It ain't the windshield. Every time I drive around town and I see somebody else in that Bronco, I look over to wave to somebody. It's always a woman. I feel like I'm driving a woman's car.
So what?
So what? I've done it my whole life. I've been set up for failure. First car I ever got, my mom was like, "You need to get a Grand Cherokee." That's a softball soccer mom car.
What?
And then my next car, I got a Ford. What do you drive, Buck? An Explorer?
I have an Explorer.
Ford Explorer, another soccer mom car.
My car is a soccer mom car.
100%. And then I go to the Bronco Sport, thinking, oh, it's got some run ramps on it. Oh, that looks cool. Nope. Never seen another man drive one.
Oh, this is crazy logic.
I need a different one.
So many people. I feel like I've known so many people that have.
Somebody take a
Grand
picture of a man
Cherokees.
that ain't me driving one, but I ain't never seen one. It's just like Jeep people. They want to tip their hat
you
at
wanna-
other people.
You know what, Robert? You do have the biggest breasts of anybody I've seen driving a Ford Bronco.
You and Cheyenne both can't be making. I was talking to her the other day about having a baby and all this other stuff. No, and she was like, "Oh, I thought you would be the one breastfeeding."
Oh no, Cheyenne.
Off the top
You ever
row.
seen that Kevin Gates clip?
Yes, that's for the reason he started it.
You know
He
who
wanted to
Kevin
get
Gates
skinny.
is, Lucas?
Of course I know who Kevin Gates is.
Okay.
He was part of the soundtrack to college. Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Gates has a clip. Is that Bobby girl still doing that podcast, or she quit that already?
I believe she quit.
Anyway, TikTok person, not relevant, but he's having a conversation with a podcaster on TikTok.
What happened to Kevin Gates?
And he's just put
got
out a new
skinny.
album. Well, he got skinny because of this. He said that his weight loss journey started because he was holding a baby and the baby tried to breastfeed on Kevin Gates.
He goes, and that baby started going numb. That's when I knew I was too fat.
Yeah. So
incredible.
credit to Kevin Gates, whatever
Well,
it takes.
Robert, if you need evidence of a male driving a Ford Bronco, I think I can help you.
No, it's not a Ford Bronco. It's a Ford Bronco Sport. Yeah,
Okay.
men. I have seen men drive Ford Broncos.
Well, I can think of one very famous instance in which a man was driving a Ford Bronco.
Also, how do you know that
Sport.
the female
A sport, not OJ.
how do you know that the female portion of the population is offended by you driving around one of their vehicles?
Sure, I'm trying to get out of it. It's a 2024. Hook me up. Come on.
Are you just pleading with our dear friends at Two Rivers Ford to give you a new car?
No, I think it would be a great institutional, learning experience to see what happens when they hook somebody up like that. I think
They already have. I have a car.
yeah, but that's you, dude. It's not like you're going to walk anywhere. I think on Monday when we go out there,
I don't even drive.
We should get Tammy on the show, and under the guise of tell us all the great things that are going on at Two Rivers Ford, but really we're just going to corner her on air and peer pressure her into giving me a new car.
What do you mean you don't even drive?
Like around town, other than work. I mean, I don't drive to the airport. I don't drive when I go out. Like 5 days a week.
But you do drive.
I come in here. That's
You
about
drive every single day.
8 minutes.
Vidal in the chat saying, I'm an insurance adjuster and Bert is correct. I don't know what I was correct about, but I just want you guys to know that someone
about
agrees with me.
about the
About
percentage of the fair sex that drive the Bronco Sport.
I just don't want people to look at me and think less of me. I just need a manly
Oh, don't
looking
you?
car. Need a manly look. You remember Master Disguise? I need some man-sized meatballs.
Was Master Disguise the turtle?
Dana Carvey. Yep.
Yeah.
Tried to get Lucas to watch it the other day.
It was never my.
It's not a good
Was
movie.
never
No,
my.
what do you? Okay, no one said it was a good movie. I'm just thinking it would be a good movie to watch at night.
With respect to Dana Carvey, it never clicked for me.
Is this Josh Heupel's best chance at Kirby Smart? We had Adam Sparks on the radio show earlier. You'll hear his answer coming up next. Erectile dysfunction can wreck your confidence, and it can impact your relationship, your mental health, and even your sense of identity. But there's good news. There's real help. Since 2014, the Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped thousands of guys get back to feeling like themselves. These aren't cookie-cutter solutions. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is urology-based and staffed with multiple licensed providers who specialize in men's sexual health issues. They use proven treatments tailored to your specific situation. No one size fits all. Whether you're dealing with mild or moderate ED, performance issues, or even conditions like Peyronie's disease, their medical team will work with you to create a plan that gets results, often with options most men didn't even know were out there. So call them today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or book easily online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first Titans injury report of the week came out Wednesday ahead of the home opener against the Rams. J.C. Latham, Quandre Diggs, Khalil Mullings, and Tavondre Sweat did not practice. Arden Key, L'Jarius Sneed, and Kevin Winston Jr. were limited. Cam Ward met with the media yesterday and was asked about the emotions of potentially throwing his first career touchdown pass at Nissan Stadium, saying doesn't think he is really affected by that. Week 2 kicks off with an NFC battle on Thursday Night Football tonight at Lambeau Field. The Packers host the Commanders. Kickoff at 7:15. You can hear the Westwood One call here on The Zone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour is upon us. We've got football tonight. Should be a fun one between the Packers and the Commies, the Washington Commanders. Both 1-0. I did not see much of the Packers game, but it sounded like Micah Parsons had an instant impact. It was a defense that's already got some talent.
3 pressures and a sack.
Yeah, turns out pretty good player, Micah Parsons. I'm sure that'll continue to improve. I don't know if that alone makes them the best team in the NFC, if there was some conversation to be had about it before. But the Jordan Love trajectory is going to be interesting to follow along with this year because I think we've been hyping him up, or at least I have, for a couple of years now, and we're still kind of waiting for that breakthrough. You and I have talked about that before.
It's also easy to lean into that the Packers have arrived as a true contender to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl because it's wide open. It's wide open. It's the Eagles, and who's the 1 seed last year? The Lions. They look like a shell of themselves. It's week 1. Understanding, new play callers. We'll see how they look moving forward. And the Vikings looked impressive in the fourth quarter with J.J. McCarthy, but there's just so many unknowns in the NFC, whereas the AFC feels like it's just juggernaut after juggernaut.
Well, I would push back on that a little bit because we both have the Bucs in the Super Bowl. You and I. And, yeah, Tampa Bay plays in a weaker division, but Tampa's a good football team. Washington obviously has some teeth. Green Bay, Minnesota. I don't know if what J.J. McCarthy did was just one-night-only magic and the speed of the NFL will catch up to him at certain points throughout the course of the season. But if Minnesota gets reasonable quarterback play, there is a conversation to be had there about how actually wide open is it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Whereas in the AFC,
it's the known commodity.
Yeah, until proven otherwise. Right now, like for me, it's Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, and Bengals are sitting there too.
They won week 1, but they scraped ugly doing it.
They did, but they still have Joe Burrow and a defense that will be hard to be worse than it was last year. So whereas
Mike McDaniel,
you're right with the NFC. But still, that leans into wide open. Like, whose is it to lose?
Well, theoretically, I guess it's the Eagles to lose.
Where, like, the Chiefs have just had this grip on the AFC, right? They have to be knocked off the perch. Where I guess that's the Eagles, but not close to the same level as the Chiefs.
No, I'm with that. It will take a lot to knock off Kirby Smart, or at least for Josh Heupel to knock off Kirby Smart for the first time in his SEC coaching career. Tennessee hosting number 6 Georgia, number 15 Tennessee hosting number 6 Georgia this weekend. We asked Adam Sparks of the Knoxville News Sentinel, who joined us in the first hour. If you missed that conversation, you can check out the podcast. I asked Adam simply, is this Heupel's best shot at getting Kirby?
No, this is his best shot. I mean, for a few reasons. This is early in the year. We don't know what Georgia has yet. Tennessee's looked pretty good in the first 2 games for what it matters. I do think Josh Heupel has learned – we'll see how it goes, but I think he's learned offensively to some extent that he can't do what he does against everybody else against Georgia. I mean, there's only so many times you can go out with the same offense, same type of approach, and it not win that you got to change it up. And we saw that a little bit last year. Josh Heupel's offense, spread everybody out, isolate on the outside. That works really well against Mississippi State and Kentucky and whoever else, because you're putting your wide receiver out on an island with a DB, and you're making a defense commit somebody else out there or into the box, and then you have a numbers game. So you're committing a safety out there. That works with almost every other team. It doesn't work with Georgia because Georgia wants your wide receiver against their corner because their corner is better than your wide receiver. And so I think doing that so many times, I think Josh Heupel has figured out. He figured out a little bit last year when they went a lot of too tight and more tight formations, ran the ball through to the tight end a lot. If you remember last year, Miles Kitselman caught like 4 balls, I think, on the first drive. So I think they're going to do that more. And so it may be the best timing at this point that it's a home game. It's early in the season. Georgia doesn't have either of those quarterbacks that they've had in the past. I mean, Carson Beck is gone. We don't know what we're going to get out of Gunnar Stockton. And Gunnar Stockton, I mean, Joey Aguilar, this is his first SEC game. This is Gunnar Stockton's first SEC game. So we don't know how either of them are going to react to pressure. So I'm not saying Tennessee's going to win. I do think, though, that the things that need to align for them to have a chance to finally win this game have probably aligned best this year.
All right, so that's Adam Sparks. And like I said, you can check out the full conversation previewing the Georgia game in the podcast feed. I assume that video will be posted on YouTube as well?
You know what happens when you assume.
You got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So, 8-year losing streak to Georgia. Half of that is Heupel. You are in a situation where it's not a now or never for Josh Heupel, right? Because that feels a bit too definitive. But this is as good an opportunity as he has had at any point in his 4 years, his 4 previous years as the head coach of Tennessee. So maybe now or never is too definitive, but it does feel kind of like that, no?
No, I'm not going to say now or never. To say now or never, by definition, would mean, well, if you're not going to beat Georgia this year, then you're never going to beat Georgia. Not going to say that, but so far to this point, yes, this feels like his best shot at Georgia at home. Tennessee has played Georgia in the Heupel era at home twice. In 2021, year one, where, the Heupel offense kind of burst onto the scene, but that was a 7-win football team. And 2023, where the Jalen Wright run lit Neyland Stadium on fire to take a 7-0 lead, and then Georgia just smothered Tennessee for the rest of the game. Outscored them, 38-3 the rest of the way. And that Tennessee team was the Joe Milton squad. That was an 8-win team that was just kind of gearing up for the Nico year the following season. So this is the best Tennessee has been while hosting Georgia at home in the Heupel era, without question. To Adam's point of Georgia being able to eliminate the things that Tennessee did so well against 99% of defenses they faced in 2021 and 2022, the Vols have 1 passing touchdown against Georgia in the Josh Heupel era.
That's crazy.
Or, excuse me, I'm sorry. 2 passing touchdowns.
Still.
Hendon Hooker had 1 in 2021. Joe Milton had 1 in mop-up duty in that game in 2021. So since that game, 2022, 2023, 2024 matchups, Tennessee has 0 passing touchdowns in the last 3 games against Georgia. They've also struggled to get to the quarterback in all of those games against Georgia. Both of those things have got to change in this game. It doesn't mean Tennessee has to air it out and go bombs away, but it does mean that they have to affect the quarterback. Like, that's the most non-negotiable thing for me in this game. Is Gunnar Stockton cannot be allowed to sit back and pick this defense apart. If he is, he's picking on a cornerback room that is deep. Tennessee feels good about what they have behind Ricky Gibson and Jermod McCoy, but it's still not your number 1 and 2 corners. It's Colton Hood, the Colorado transfer, who's had a great start to the season, and Ty Redmond, the true freshman that they really like, but he's still a true freshman. And they can move parts and pieces around, and Jalen McMurray's had a nice start to the year, and they're going to need Boo Carter to have a big game, but this feels like the kind of game where Tennessee's going to have to play, to throw out a cliche, extremely complimentary football to win. I don't think they're just going to be able to outscore Georgia with the offense. I think that they're going to have to be able to affect Gunnar Stockton. Special teams has to be a factor. Huge opportunity for Boo Carter, who had a nice punt return in Athens last year to help Tennessee to a 10-0 lead. And the crowd just has to remain in it. There's no quicker way to take a crowd out of a game, even a Neyland crowd at its best, than converting those 3rd and 8s.
Slander.
Because what?
You down on your home field environment.
No, it's a fact.
No, I know.
There's no quicker way to take the air out of a stadium than letting a quarterback sit back and pick you apart because you can't get home. And on 3rd and 8, he's picking apart your defense over the middle, or he's scrambling the way Carson Beck infuriatingly did multiple times in that game last year. Carson Beck, not a runner. Gunnar Stockton, a little more athletic than Carson Beck in the run game. Brandon on the F&M Bank chat says the injuries have piled up in the wrong places for me to feel comfortable. And that's a fair concern, too. If David Sanders Jr. plays at right tackle, okay, great, but he's a true freshman making his first start, even if he is a 5-star and they feel like he's one of their 5 best offensive linemen. If he doesn't play, then you're missing one of your 5 best offensive linemen. Jackson Moy, we already know David Hobbs is not going to play. Injuries have piled up at inconvenient spots for Tennessee in this game.
We have our first sighting of BVS, our first case of BVS, patient 0. Okay. Jack Longley, your microphone wasn't on.
Yeah.
Although everybody could hear you.
Yeah, everyone heard me on that one.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew. Jack Longley on YouTube says, as a Tennessee fan, to my question about now or never against Georgia, he says, as a Tennessee fan, it's just never. Ultimate BVS. He goes on to say, this offense does not work against decent defenses, much less elite ones. It lights up bad teams and makes a talent disadvantage worse versus good teams. Now, it's being pointed out to our patient 0 that they did put 52 points on Alabama, but it is also worth noting that Alabama defense was uncharacteristic that year that they lost at Neyland Stadium.
Yeah, that Alabama team shot itself in the foot multiple times in that game. The muffed punt, the drop by Jahmyr Gibbs at the end of the game, that if that doesn't happen, then Bama's probably kicking the game-winning field goal. Georgia's not going to do that.
I am cautiously optimistic. I am going to bet Tennessee plus 3.5. But I don't, like, your injuries are enough to make me hesitant, especially that the fact, I mean, obviously McCoy has been out for some time, but this is a situation where being down 2 of your starting corners against a team that knows how to take advantage of your matchups that way that's a lot for me to, like, I wouldn't bet the money line, but I'm feeling pretty good about plus 3.5.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it'll be a good game. And does Gunnar Stockton have it in him? Most of the time, when Tennessee has lost, a good Tennessee team has lost at home in recent years, it has been due to a near Herculean effort by the quarterback. Again, they've only lost once at home since 2022, and it was to Georgia, but that wasn't a very good Tennessee team in 2023. It was an 8-win team that was just getting by to 2024. But I think back to Bryce Young was incredible in that Alabama game, still came up short. Baker Mayfield was a superhero in that Oklahoma game all the way back in 2015, where Tennessee just was on top of him for 3 quarters, still found a way to win in overtime. Can Gunnar Stockton be that guy for Georgia? Tennessee will have to do what they can to prevent it.
We'll talk more about this matchup. We'll talk a little bit of Titans as they get ready to hit the practice field. Nate Washington will join us for his weekly segment as well. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Indisputably. Nate Washington going to join us here in just a second. If you want to join us, 615-737-1045 is the number. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is how you get involved. Robert is telling me I have to give you Titans tickets. So I will. Be calling number 5? Or are we just going to be lazy with it? Or should we make Ross do something on his birthday? It is
Do
his
you
birthday,
have another? Oh, it's Ross's birthday?
It is Ross's birthday.
Oh.
Very happy. What birthday is it, Ross?
Just yell it.
Don't be scared of your microphone.
What birthday is it for you?
23.
Ross is 23 years old.
Oh, Jordan year.
You know who else's birthday it is?
Mike Keith.
Voice of the Vols, Mike Keith.
You want to give them a two birds, one stone? Let's give them a happy birthday from Steve and I.
Thought you were going to give us a Rickyism there. Get two birds stoned at once. You want to get two birds stoned at once?
Who's Ricky?
He's never seen Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, gosh. I every day I realize that I'm working with Philistines.
Just pick somebody to give the tickets away to. So, as we talked about the Tennessee and the Georgia matchup, this game against the Rams is an interesting matchup for the Titans. We just saw, and the 33rd team, Lucas, and it's only one outlet, and I'm sure everybody has different metrics that they use to evaluate a grade, but the 33rd team has called the Titans offensive line the least effective pass-blocking unit in football in Week 1. Now, it's a one-game sample size, and they played the Denver Broncos, who were the league-leading sack getters last year. They had 6 on Sunday. Got to Cam Ward 6 times. Some Cam Ward's fault, some Dan Moore's fault. Kevin Zeitler was not overwhelmingly good in this game either. He got pushed back a couple of times. Like that 29-yard completion to Tony Pollard. Like Zeitler's on skates in that game or in that play. Now, it's one play, and it doesn't mean that Kevin Zeitler's not going to be worth the 1-year, $9 million contract that you gave him, but there are some things there that were being exploited. Now, couple of things that will be to their advantage up front at home. The snap count is something that they have control over as opposed to working the silent count, because that's where J.C. Latham got a couple of times. He was late on the snap count. Lloyd Cushenberry talked about it. J.C. did not talk after the game, obviously dealing with injury. We haven't seen him in the locker room yet, though we will see if he's there today after practice, potentially Friday. And you have J.C. Latham, who did not play overwhelmingly well in this game, but is dealing with this hip injury. J.C. Latham is, I would imagine he's going to be questionable at the very least for Sunday's game against the Rams. You have a great front. It's not just Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, who we talk about a great deal. Byron Young from Tennessee has ended up having a really nice career. They find ways to get different players involved in the games that they play up front. Jalen McCullough, another Vols player, had a sack on Sunday against the Texans. Kobe Turner is a good player for them on the interior. I think he lines up in a couple of different spots as a defensive lineman for them. But they don't have the Broncos front, but they've got a good enough front, and they're skilled at these games and stunts that will put an offensive line in a blender. They have to win one of these matchups. You know what bothered me Monday out of Brian Callahan's it was yesterday out of Brian Callahan's press conference, and I can find the exact quote for you so I can read it word for word. But he was talking about Dan Moore against Nick Bonito. Now, we know that Nick Bonito is a very good player, and we know that Nick Bonito is going to make a lot of offensive tackles look foolish. But this is the exact quote from Brian Callahan about that. I think we could have played better up front. That team last year was the number 1 pass rush in football. They're going to be a challenge. We couldn't help everybody all the time, which is fair. Goes on to say there's going to be some one-on-ones. We did a good job in some and not as good a job in other points. Dan Moore is facing, I think, the second or third leading sacker in the league last year. Really talented speed rusher, Nick Bonito. He won some matchups for sure. When you play one-on-one against guys like that, they win some too. And this is the part that irked me. He got paid a whole lot of money to do what he did, talking about Nick Bonito. So I think that's the give and take. Dan Moore got paid a lot of money to do what he did Like, don't sit up there and say, well, Nick Bonito makes a lot of money because he's a really good player. You pay Dan Moore a ton of money to hold down your blind side.
Yeah, I guess, his point there is just talking about the challenge they were up against, but, like...
Nobody disputes that.
I think we can...
But, like, don't cite the guy's contract when you just gave out the biggest offensive or the biggest left tackle contract in free agency.
But, like, we understand that the market's inflated, right? When you're going to get your left tackle via free agency. Like, we know the best left tackles are not available in free. I feel like it's kind of nitpicky there.
It is, but we came into this year saying if Dan Moore ends up being their worst offensive lineman, then that's a win, right? Even though he's compensated the way that he's compensated. Oh, I'm sorry, Robert. I unlocked the phone lines. My bad. Who won the tickets? Who'd you give them to?
It was a Mr. What the hell is this guy's name? Jerry.
All right. Congratulations to Jerry. He's going to Titans and Rams on Sunday. Stop calling us for tickets. We don't have any more. But the other two shows do.
Yeah, that's not true. You can still win with Cover 2 or 3HO.
I said we don't have any tickets. Us. The three of us.
What about for the Vols game? Do we have tickets yet?
No. Working on that.
I have tickets. Do you two have tickets?
I told the story of what happened last time we were in Neyland on primetime last night, Lucas.
When you and I were in Knoxville
Why don't you wait till Nate Washington's on the phone and you can tell that story for the class?
I don't think Nate needs to be bothered with our chicanery.
I'd like to hear Nate weigh in on this discussion we were having on the greatest tight ends of all time. And where Jason Witten ranks
during the break.
Commercial.
All I will say is that day in Knoxville, my end was not very tight after having to rush from Cool Beans to a bathroom.
Yeah, we got it. You pooped yourself again.
I didn't poop myself. I pooped behind
behind like a youth ministry building.
There was nowhere to go.
What'd you wipe with?
A Dollar General bag that was scattered amongst the leaves. That was just until I could get to a porta potty to actually attend to my faculty.
I was like, Robert, we're almost there.
Dude, I was like,
you are not riding in my car on Saturday.
Like, I can't make it, dude. I'm telling you right now, I'm an expert at holding it. I can't make it. I'll call Nate now.
Please call Nate Washington. Talk to Nate.
Arguably, the three toughest fronts the Titans play all season are in the first 4 weeks of the season.
It's not ideal, and the Colts are no slouches.
Yeah. Broncos, Rams, and Texans, who I'm talking about, Colts sandwiched in week 3. So it lightens up significantly from there, although you still got to face the likes of Max Crosby and Myles Garrett and Chris Jones. But it is quite the introduction for Cam Ward in this offensive line.
Yeah, it's brutal. But, I mean, I just don't want to get to a point where we're making excuses for the offensive line.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like we said all offseason.
You got paid. And you, Lucas, you were holding them to a higher standard than I think just about anybody.
No, all offseason. We said that has to be the most improved unit on the team.
I'm allowed to be annoyed about, the head coach of the football team citing Nick Bonito's contract when Dan Moore has a fat old contract that he didn't do bleep with on Sunday.
I understand. But, I guess, do we just ignore the nuances of why certain players are getting paid what they're getting paid? Just to criticize the coach? Like, we know why Dan Moore Jr.
It's not a criticism of Brian Callahan. It's criticism of Dan Moore. Do your job, man.
No, you just criticize Brian Callahan.
Both.
Dan Moore Jr. didn't get paid what he got paid because he's one of the 10 best left tackles. He got paid what he got paid because he was available. He was the best tackle available. There's a difference there. Nick Bonito got paid what he got paid because he is in a certain percentage of edge rushers in the NFL, drafted by the Broncos.
Nate Washington joins us now as he does each and every week. We always appreciate his visits at NWash85, where you can find him on social media. Nate, good to talk to you, bud. We appreciate you stopping by. What did you see from Cam Ward in his initial outing? I know we've seen him in the preseason and we've talked about it, but this is the first full game sample size we've gotten, Nate, since he's played college ball.
Right. I've seen a little sample of bit of everything. I went back and watched the game film, and obviously we've seen a lot of positives, seen a lot of poise, seen a lot of tight window throws, seen a lot of understanding of the speed of the game at a very young age, right? I also seen a little bit of panic, a little bit of franticness at times, not trusting understandably, obviously, with the play of the guys around him. But obviously, I think I definitely seen a franchise quarterback that we have in Cam Ward that's going to be willing to grow with this team.
So as a receiver, Nate, because obviously there were some miscues and the game got away from them, so he ended up being put in a lot more drop-back situations than I'm sure they wanted. Ideally, ended up having 28 passing attempts and was sacked 6 times. When you're watching Cam Ward in some of those panic moments as you describe him, what can he do better for the receivers? Because he did have some drops in this game, but it's not nearly as many as I think people were trying to make it. There were 3 total drops that I think could legitimately be counted as drops.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as what he can do better, I don't really see a situation of what he could do better in this particular conversation. I feel like, this offensive line, while they've been playing better, they're definitely going to need to get better. The left tackle, Dan Moore, he played okay, but he's going to have to play better. When I seen the frantic and the panic and the non-trusting moments come from Cam, it's because he was under duress. He was in a situation where, he had to get the ball out of his hand quick. And we spoke about this before the game, but in the same instance, there has to be a situation where he's comfortable at all times. As far as the drops, being a receiver, understanding the situation, this is a young guy. For me personally, when we picked up Jake Locker, man, I was really willing to break my ankles and risk to catch a ball for Jake Locker, because I knew how much it would help build that young man's confidence. And as much as, you look at the film and you see some very precise and unique throws from Cam, it doesn't mean anything if the ball's not caught. You know what I mean? Very few, drops, as you stated, with 3, but they were very big drops in very big moments, from your biggest guys in a lot of situations. As far as that situation goes, it has to change, obviously. I'm sure Calvin understands the situation and understands that he didn't play up to his expectation and will have the desire to come out and be better, but you have to be better from the start, I think Cam is a unique prospect that is ready now, and this organization, these teammates, the guys around them are going to have to understand. It's not just about coming in and doing your job. This is about coming in and playing up to the expectation with a guy that has a unique ability to go out and make plays in Cam Ward.
Nate Washington, former Titans wide receiver, here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
So, Nate, Cam was asked yesterday about his communication with the receivers after those drop passes, and, he reiterated his confidence in them, said he's never going to get on them for dropping the ball. He knows he's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw a pick at some point. But for you, when that type of stuff came up, if there was a drop in a game, I guess this would be different for everybody. But do you want your quarterback coming up to you, reassuring you or challenging you to be better? What was that like for you as a player?
To be honest with you, myself personally, I never was really caught in what I desire from the outside to happen to me. And saying that, I'm saying I wasn't upset if somebody came and got on me. I wasn't upset if everybody left me alone and left me to myself. For me personally, it was more so about that internal battle, man. I would beat myself up inside over a drop ball. So it was nothing nobody on the outside can tell me. Internally, I was already telling myself to pick my, SHIT up and get it going because I knew what I was capable of, and I never wanted to let any food be left on my plate. And dropping the ball is like leaving food on your plate, man. So I think, that's all about the person. I think there's different guys that handle different things different ways. I've been around ball catchers, receivers, and tight ends that have big guys that be like, oh, don't say nothing to me, those type of guys, or guys that can be very accountable and be like, hey, that's on me, guys, So it's a person thing, man. You will hope that these guys take any accountability that's coming from, the outside, whether it's Cam telling them let's go, picking them up, or, telling them he needs more, or any of their teammates. Hopefully that this is a team that understands that accountability is going to be everything for them moving forward. So I'm hoping that they're taking these things with stride and understanding that they need to get better in their area.
We've talked to you a lot about Manor, the 4th-round rookie out of Stanford, throughout the course of the offseason training camp. I saw this from PFF, Nate, that the most unrealized air yards in Week 1 on incompletions that happened for any reason other than receiver error were for Manor. 117 unrealized air yards. The analytical look at his performance from Sunday, obviously just had the 2 catches. What were your impressions of Manor in his debut?
I seen opportunities, and I spoke on this last week. You know, on the other side of Pat Surtain was Moss, and I knew they were going to try to create some opportunities with him. You know, unfortunately, there were some opportunities that were left, too. He had the deep ball on the left side of the field coming from Cam that Cam threw out of bounds, unfortunately. But, man, if you give him a chance there, it might be a wide-open catch. You know, he kind of was able to break free and get some separation on the deep route, and the play was there, but the ball was thrown out of bounds. And then you had the throw on the tight pin situation on the sideline. You know, I'm sure we'll discuss that here shortly. But there were a couple plays down the field that he had an opportunity to make, and I expected that. I expected him to have those opportunities, but I also expected it to go either way. You know, for us to be able to connect on those plays, or for him that need to be able to get better in those areas. You know, I would love to be able to see him be able to hold the red line is what they call it. It's an opportunity to give the quarterback to throw the space with space on the sideline, to throw the go routes and those type of things. And I'm sure he's had those conversations with his coach, but, you know, those things that come up for a young guy, and it's growing pains. It's things that, you know, it's different from watching on film and actually going through it, you know. So he'll understand about leverage, and he'll understand about alignment that'll help him out in these positions. But definitely going to be even more opportunities for him down the field, and I'm looking forward to watching him and Cam grow and watching their relationship grow and being able to connect on a lot of those deeper plays.
You're a wide receiver. You have a coach who is a former quarterback and an offensive play caller. You catch a ball and your elbow lands inbounds. The refs miss it, but so does the coach.
Right.
That's the situation that played itself out on Sunday, Nate, and I wonder what you thought of, one, what happened in real time, and then the reaction by Brian Callahan after the fact.
Cool. So, you know, the way I see this situation is, you know, as perfect as you would like people to be, they're not going to be that way. And it goes across the board, right? Now, let me say this. As a pass catcher, as a receiver, as a person that's understanding of the rules, Sunday, if that happens to me, in that moment on the sideline, I'm telling him to challenge the play. He denies me. Oh, I'm pissed. I'm pissed, especially if I'm a veteran at the time. You know, I understand it happened to Alec, and, you know, he's a younger guy, so he may not have the sense of urgency or importance of the moment as it is for him. But, you know, if it's me and I'm in 9-10 years, oh, I'm pissed. I'm going off on the sideline. I'm upset, but I know and understand that I need to find a way to move on to the next play, right? Now, moving forward, you know, he goes into the interview. He states what he states. You know, I think as a player, you really wouldn't read too much into it until you go home and you sit down, and respectively being on this side of the ball now, you pay a little more attention to the media. You know, the media attention will garnish some type of idea while I'm sitting at home Sunday night, and I might think to myself, like, how don't you know that that's the rule? You know, as a player, I'm sitting at home and I'm telling myself, how don't you know this? But in the same sense, I'm understanding once again, I didn't play my best as a receiver coming out that game. So I'm looking at the situation where I might have that on my mind, but I'm also thinking, like, shoot, man, when I get in the film tomorrow for this Monday workout, I know I'm going to have to be accountable as hell.
Sure.
So it doesn't really matter to me about that one mistake from him, because I know I got so much to clean up on film. So now I come in Monday morning, I go in a film, I understand my situation, I come out of that meeting, I hear the interview from my head coach of him taking accountability and moving forward. Hey, man, we move on. You know, there's nothing really else to discuss. You know, I think anything after that, as a player, you're dwelling on something that's going to tie you into a bad game, man. You, as a team and whole, you will really hope that you watch this film, everybody take accountability of their assignment and technique, and everybody move forward. You know, I know he's the head coach. I know he's the leader as a player. But I also know he's going to make mistakes. You know, I've been on the sideline with head coaches before that was turning and asking assistant head coaches whether they should call timeout in specific situations. So, like, it happens. You know, that's why it's a team. Everybody is there to help each other. Everybody is there to hold each other accountable. And that's how you become better. That's how you grow together. You know, if anything that has happened in an outcome from this situation, I am just more so glad that he's taking accountability as a man and shows these young men that, hey, you can be wrong, but make sure that when you find out you was wrong, you poke your same chest out and you apologize and take accountability the same way.
He's the main man, Nate Washington at NWash85 is where you can follow him along. It's a good time if you follow him on Twitter. It's always good to have him on the show. Buddy, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next Thursday after the Rams game.
Definitely, man. Looking forward to it, fellas.
That's our guy, Nate Washington, kind enough to visit with us, as he will do each and every Thursday. I've really enjoyed having Ben and Brett and Nate around for context, because it does matter a great deal.
Yeah, important stuff.
Last call for phone calls. 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown score to anytime touchdown props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. Now, you know I can't bet on the NFL, but I can bet on college football, and I'm going to place my hard-earned money on the Vols, plus 3.5 hosting Georgia this weekend. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly, plus score over $200 on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THEZONE. That's code THEZONE to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Tennessee only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Last call for phone calls, if you got them. 615-737-1045 is the number. Head out to practice here in just a little bit. Well, I won't really catch practice, but I'll be in the locker room after the fact. We've got Thursday Night Football on tonight. Coach Mack will be on the radio show tomorrow. Brett Kern. Also Chris Doering. Chris Doering of the SEC Network, former Florida wide receiver. I'm sure he's in a good mood this week after the South Florida Bulls and Alex Golish knocked off the Florida Gators and knocked them out at this point in time. Likely killed their national championship or college playoff hopes. Let's go to Derek, who's up next. Hey, Derek.
Hi, Buck.
How are you?
Good. Just had a question. So I remember multiple times watching games and people saying, oh, yeah, he must have got a call from the booth to challenge a play or this and that. Do we not have people watching these replays in real times at games to keep this blunder from happening when we have a reception and it's missed?
No, you do.
Maybe Callahan wasn't the only one that missed it.
His name's Rob Ryderer, and he did miss it. I can't remember the exact title, but he is responsible for helping Brian Callahan in that position. It used to be John Stryker, who's otherwise known as Stretch under Mike Vrabel, but now it's Rob Ryderer, and I'm sure that conversation was had this week. Okay.
I was just kind of confused. I thought we had multiple people watching this stuff, so it doesn't happen. So.
No, you do. That's what makes it more egregious. Appreciate the call. Yeah, I mean, listen, what Nate Washington said is fair. There's human error in everything. I mean, I've been critical of being buttoned up on the Titans side of things all week long, and then I screwed up what school our high school player of the week went to. Or I did screw it up. It was the wrong Grace Christian, which was,
You said
which one, in Chattanooga?
There's one in Knoxville, and there's one in Franklin.
Okay.
Go back, by the way, on the podcast. That was from Wednesday's Hour 2. Warren DeGraff, his story is phenomenal.
Yes, please ignore my great shame. In the
Still battling cancer as he plays his last year of high school football.
Awesome story. I saw the Tennessean did a cool piece on him, too. Well worth your time.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of coverage, and they're off to a 3-0 start in the high school football season.
They absolutely should. Any final thoughts Thursday Night Football before we do some polls, get out of here?
Interesting game.
It is a fun game.
Packers have kind of been crowned. I think a lot of people's powder very wet on the Green Bay Packers. And the Commanders are just in the midst of trying to prove that they are indeed in this Super Bowl window with Jaden Daniels and that it wasn't just a rookie year thing with him. So I can't wait for this game tonight at Lambeau.
Are you guys familiar with what's going on in the Commanders' backfield currently?
Do tell.
There is
Bill.
Well, okay, that's the nickname. He would like to be known as Bill. His name when he was being drafted was Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He is currently listed as the backup running back to Austin Eckler.
He's so good.
He was part of the reason why they felt so confident in removing themselves from Brian Robinson and moving on. The fantasy football community loves this guy. I am not ready to crown him yet. I remember when they drafted Antonio Gibson, and everyone was like, oh, yeah, they got this guy. He didn't have many carries at Memphis. He's like he's a scat back. Oh, they're going to throw him a lot of balls. Yeah, I'm going to need to see it. He scored a touchdown last week. Good for the fantasy people, but the Bill hype, the hype so large that the Commanders felt the need to put out a video of the old Schoolhouse Rock Bill on Capitol Hill and a highlight video of him. I'm like, dude, the guy's a 5th-round rookie.
He's fun,
a
though.
7th-round rookie.
Robert, he's fun.
I get that. Okay, he's fun. That's your argument.
Yes.
You, the no-fun police, is going to tell me.
Hey, it's not the no-fun police. I just don't get to watch fun football anymore. That's not my fault.
He's also in a running back room. He's in a running back room with Austin Eckler, Jeremy McNichols, and Chris Rodriguez.
McWeapon.
So, yes, he is fun, but because everyone around him is no longer allowed to go to Chuck E. Cheese because they have aged out.
Antonio Gibson had a strong couple of years. His first couple seasons. He was a 1,000-yard rusher.
I think that is the lowest bar to clear. Like, you just have to have like 58 yards a game. Like that, it's not that much.
Now who's the no fun police?
I guess it's me because for not crowning
don't
a
want to have
rookie.
fun with Bill.
Down on 1,000-yard rushes. I don't want to have fun with Bill.
No.
He's played in one game.
There were a lot of people excited about him out of the preseason. I know it's preseason. I know.
You know who else fantasy football people were excited about? Kyle Monungai, third running back in Chicago. What did he do? Caught an 11-yard pass.
That is 2
down.
fantasy points.
Let's do some polls. Get out of here.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. How can the Titans show 2025 is going to be different from 2024? Jim says win. Most people say win. CJ says learn from week one.
I think that's a reasonable bar.
Yep.
And you clear it.
I think that's a good place to start. Learn from week one. Is this Josh Heupel's best shot at Kirby Smart? 83% say it is.
Adam Sparks agrees.
Ike says, absolutely not. We haven't seen anything from Joey this season. Two terrible teams getting absolutely crapped on. I fear Joe is about to be App State Joey Aguilar. There's a little BVS creeping in.
Very strong BVS.
Yes, I'm just checking his bio. He is indeed a Vols fan.
Okay. They're usually the most negative.
What's the more concerning Titans injury right now? J.C. Latham, Tavondre Sweat. Both popped up on the injury report yesterday. Neither practiced. We'll see what the injury report says today. 92% say Latham.
I think it's Sweat.
Yeah, there's an argument for either.
Sure.
But it shouldn't be that lopsided. Tavondre Sweat is huge for you on the interior of that D-line against the Rams on Sunday.
I think people are more worried about the Rams' defensive line given what the Broncos just did to this Titans offensive
That's fair.
line.
I mean, that's another challenge for Oli Udoh if he is called up. But we'll see what the injury report says today.
Yeah, and if J.C. Latham is available to speak in the locker room after practice today, we will certainly do that. Those are the polls?
Yep.
That's the show. Prime time tonight. Bert, you want to go at 6?
Make it 5:30.
We'll go at 5:30, which means we'll be on by 6, allowing ample time for you to watch Thursday night football. Got ahead of myself there. Have a great rest of your afternoon.